I still don't know what fucking episode we are. It's 2019, and I keep forgetting, and I don't know. I haven't looked it up.
Yeah, it's so inaccurate at this point.
I'll know by the Golden Geeks nomination. So, there you go, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to some anonymous sort of episode.
We're in shambles. We don't know what episode.
Yeah, we're in shambles.
We're the limited. This is the limited edition episode.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It's some bonus thing. I don't know what it is. I am the overseer. Trust no.
You sounded so inconfident in that.
Because I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember what they went with. It's a mini spoiler, but
Overseer. I am the Amhart caster, Dylan Muss.
I feel like there was 3 of these, and we each could have gone with one, and this was really terribly planned out.
Are you blaming me or are you blaming everybody?
I'm blaming that we should have collaborated a little bit beforehand.
Okay, I'm Mr. Dylan. I don't know. I'm Mr. Glass.
I was gonna
There
say
you
Beast is fine because if you're gonna go by the Beast, Jessica, that's fine. But
I'm the man
I'm
with many
Glass.
personalities.
I'm Glass, Travis.
Wait, yeah, you could be the Unbreakable Travis.
I'm Mary Reynolds, Travis Steele, my favorite of the 24 personalities.
Yeah.
I am Mary Reynolds.
I am the Fantastic Beast, Jessica.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there.
no.
I was like, what review is
I'd
this?
be fine with that if I wasn't referencing a movie that I had to sit through.
Hey, you got 3 more.
Oh god, I can't wait to not go to those.
But you know got 3 more of maybe is another Glass, Split, Unbreakable, whatever it is.
So.
Well, that's what we'll talk about in this review here. So, so we are about to review Glass. We'll do a non-spoilers review, give our thoughts of our likes and dislikes, a recommendation. We'll jump into spoilers, some housekeeping to get out of the way. You know, folks, you should have a page. You should head over to Patreon because we got some good stuff up there. But we want to give a big shout out to Jeff Larrymore. I never know how to pronounce your last name.
Larrymore.
Yeah, Larrymore?
I think so.
That's what we're going with, Jeff. Let me know next time you content us on Patreon. But he moved to the $25 tier for the next 5 months, so that's a big thank you to him. He's a big fan of Hunka Hunka, so those guys are. I'm sure they're gonna brag big time when we get them back on the cast. Well, not on our.
They'll
cast,
probably be here a little bit more consistently now. I think we're using that, those donation bucks.
That's the problem. We try to get rid of them, but people just keep in the stream. People are donating towards Hunka Hunka.
Our big fans like them more than they like us, and it's
sad. It's sad. Really. But a big shout out to Jeff. So thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Sometime next week, me and Dylan will do a review of the final season of Punisher. Yes.
I'm halfway through it.
Mm-hmm. I'm an episode, so I think Dylan for the first time ever is ahead of me, and it's quite frustrating.
And you're probably still gonna beat me to finish it.
Oh yeah, no sleep till Brooklyn. And then next week is my favorite cast of the year. We got the Golden Geeks nomination. I think that'll be dropping live for Friday, everybody, because we usually pre-tape that because it can go a little long. There's sometimes the board's a problem, so I'll cut 10 minutes if we're and there's pee breaks, so it might not be live. But it's going to be a good one. Are you guys excited? You guys got your nominations?
I watched Solo. It's on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. Was that your first time seeing it?
It is.
And how'd that go? Are you
going to nominate it? I did not pay to see it in theaters.
Yeah, I don't think anybody but Taylor's going to be trying to get that one up there. So
I just have a couple that I need to round out. I think the soundtracks, I got to go through and kind of listen to them again. Mm-hmm. But I'm mostly ready.
Was a Quiet Place on there as well? So, I mean, that's on Netflix too. A bunch of these have actually been.
Have you watched the 4 that you were supposed to watch? Hereditary, Spider-Verse, Overlord, and Christopher Robin.
I've watched one of those 4. I'm at 25%.
I have a week.
I've said to everybody they can bum down Christopher Robin. That was my pick, and it's not even my top 5 anymore. So if you don't watch that one,
whew, I'm at 33%.
There you go. So that's gonna be fun. It's our Oscars. It's our award show. We nominate the best in film.
Have you guys watched all of those?
Yep. Well, not Overlord.
I have to catch up on 2 or 3 movies, I think.
Oh, so okay. I'm not doing so bad.
No. Yeah, we still got some homework. So, we don't got homework for is Glass, because we saw it last night. I like that transition.
Hashtag.
Woody's back, too, if you guys didn't know. Fancy was blocking Kirk.
I can't really see. From my angle, it looks like they're doing something.
No, they're best friends. You got a friend of me, so Woody's back. So I'll just throw that out. Glass. So this is the secret sequel to Unbreakable, and then the sequel to Split. Mm-hmm. Unbreakable came out, 18, 19 years ago now, in 2000. So lots in the making. So who wants to go first? Should I go first? Should we rock, paper, scissors?
I think Jessica's going to go first today.
Woo!
Boom.
Curveball there.
Curveball.
So I watched Split first. I'll just throw it out there. And then, because after that, I was like, oh, I don't get this ending that everyone's so excited about. So I went and watched Unbreakable. So I actually went into this pretty excited to kind of see how they melded together. Overall, I found I was really enjoying it in the beginning, and I felt it almost went downhill a little bit. By the end of it, I was like, not 100% in there, and I felt it kind of lost me a little bit. But overall, it was fun to watch. I think that McAvoy did a great job with all the characters again, which was fun to watch. And yeah, I think there's definitely some flaws that kind of bring it down as well. But I can talk about that a little more in the spoilers of it. And I also felt that there was a little bit probably of scenes with characters and jumping around that wasn't necessary. So I think though that overall 2 hours is probably not too long for this movie to get everything that they did get into it. So it could maybe have gone down a little bit, but I couldn't see this being enjoyable in an hour and a half. So I think that the time as far as that was pretty good. But yeah, it's kind of my general umbrella.
Would you recommend it, and if so, to who?
I would recommend it if you enjoyed the first two.
Okay.
I mean, if you haven't really seen them, it's kind of hard to go into this and understand what's going on.
Yeah. I think it seemed like there was a lot of stuff in here for if you haven't seen Unbreakable or if you haven't seen it in a long time. There was some like callbacks and like just shots from that movie that were put in here. But if you haven't seen Split, I think you would be pretty confused.
Yeah. For sure. So even that though, I mean, I think if I were to go into this not have like either of them, like Samuel L. Jackson's character, I would have been like, what the fuck is this? Like, it just wouldn't have made any sense. A lot of the backstory for the relationship between Mr. Glass and the overseer kind of linked together. And then the girl that was let go, like her coming back would make absolutely no sense if you hadn't seen the first one. So even a lot of McAvoy's kind of motivation for when he gets out to like what he's trying to do. That almost went a little far on that one.
It's fine.
It's in the trailers.
So, I mean, that kind of stuff is really explained in the first one as well. So, yeah, if you've seen them, you like them, I'd recommend seeing it. Depending on your interest level, it might even be worth a non-cheap Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
Full price, wow.
Maybe not popcorn, but like...
I was pretty mad last night I didn't get popcorn. You and Matt were having popcorn, and I really regretted that decision.
I think Briggs downed his bag of popcorn in the first half an hour of the movie.
No,
you can always tell by the sound, like when he's just at the bottom of the barrel and he's like getting any last kernel to pop it in. Poor guy.
Yeah, poor guy.
I'll go next. For me, I was in the same boat as you. I watched Split. I don't remember if I saw it in theaters, but I definitely saw it within a couple months of its release.
I think you guys saw it in theaters. I think it was a cheap Tuesday.
I think so, but I didn't see it like the day of because I wasn't on the review. I remember that. But I remember, I saw it and I really enjoyed it just because I'm a big fan of James McAvoy. Just so watch him just play all these different characters in one was really entertaining. It was a really cool movie, and then I was also really confused by the ending. Had no idea what was going on. Unlike you, I just watched Unbreakable yesterday before going to class.
It was kind of close. I was really worried just because I was like, if people don't see Unbreakable before, that's going to be really lost. I've got
a lot going on this month, and luckily I didn't work yesterday, so I was like sick. I'm watching Unbreakable today. And I really liked Unbreakable as well. I think it's kind of like a slower movie, and it's a little bit more dull, but what I really liked about it was like the world building I thought was really good. And like the creation of those two characters, Glass and David Dunn was really well done, and I also just had really good like cinematography, things like that as well. So I felt like Glass was, it did a really good job of bridging those two movies, because if you compare like Unbreakable, which is kind of more realistic, and even though it's dealing with a real life superhero, he's still, it's not too out of the realm of like possibility, whereas Split is just like way over the top, right? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen until like kind of the end. It's more realistic until then, but then it kind of goes, off a really tall diving board there. And I felt like this movie, it bridged those two pretty well. There is some things where like I really liked the aspect of Unbreakable that it was very realistic and down to earth. But how does it mix up with Split in that regard? And I think it did. I don't know. I think it did an all right job of doing that. Though it did feel quite a bit different from Unbreakable in some ways. Like for example, there's a comic relief character in this movie that's just there to be a comic relief character, whereas that would never happen in the original Unbreakable. There isn't a character like that, you know. Whereas that's just kind of like a trend of movies these days, I guess. So that's why that's in there. And then obviously some more like intense action scenes that Unbreakable's action scenes were pretty subtle and pretty basic compared to what we have in Split and in this movie in particular, which goes way off there.
Unbreakable is one of the most just very tame action scenes of all time. Bruce Willis taking out that guy at the pool. It's very, which I like because it's grounded, but it's just
it fits that movie.
Yeah.
That movie perfectly. On top of that, I mean, once again, James McAvoy in this movie is fantastic. It's so much fun watching him play these characters and do the switch in between them, and then he's just he switches up the mannerisms and the way he talks, the way he walks around the scene, and he's so good at that. It's so much fun to watch. Bruce Willis, I think his character David Dunn there isn't really an opportunity for an amazing performance. It's kind of like a basic role. He is like a humble, kind of quiet, reserved sort of guy.
Yeah.
So there isn't anything breathtaking there, but I thought he did that well, and there was some more kind of emotional, of the more emotional scenes that he had. I think he did well in those. And then I loved Sam Jackson's character in this movie. It's so much different. It's such a different type of character than I'm used to seeing from him in your Tarantino movies or as Nick Fury. It's such a different type of character.
It's very outlandish
most
of the time.
So he kind of starts this movie with he's kind of more just brewing, and it's kind of basic. He's just kind of doing some twitches. He's not saying anything, and I thought he was fantastic in those scenes. But then later on when he's kind of more the character that you'd expect from Unbreakable, he's really entertaining as well. So to see those stories continued and the world, because it's so much different than the other comic book superhero movies we have, right? But it still has aspects of that, but is so much more realistic, and I think the way they do the storytelling really worked out. Kind of each of these three main characters kind of has their close person or their loved one. I really like all those characters. I thought they were well done as well. And then once again, there's some really good cinematography stuff in there. And I really like the soundtrack as well. I thought it was really really fun and kind of off-putting, a little unsettling at times. But it was really really fitting for the movie.
And each character has their own kind of little theme. Anytime the beast is on, you get that spine tingling, just that music.
Yeah,
it's so nails on a chalkboard.
It's very atmospheric, and it fits the movie perfectly. So I really enjoyed it through, and I thought the pacing as well. This is one of the only movies I can think of in recent times where I wasn't thinking at all about how long it was or how short it was or they should have cut this, they should have cut that. I felt the pacing was just iron from start to finish. I was just enjoying what I was watching, and then it ended and it didn't feel like it was dragging on at any point. Mm-hmm. So I only have a couple cons, and they're just kind of little decisions in the story. There's a couple things that, like I mentioned, that comic relief character, I wish they just didn't have that in there, and there's a couple other things like that feel a little cheesy or goofy, and I don't think they really fit the theme of the movie that well. But none of my problems are anything major. They're just kind of almost little nitpicky things. And then there's kind of one plot point that I don't really know how I feel about it yet. So I'm curious, as we talk to you two guys to figure it out and see really where do I stand on that. But I would definitely recommend this movie. Honestly, I would recommend it to most people. I think you would have to, you have to put the time in. It's pretty easy. You just gotta watch 2 movies.
Yeah, if you're an MCU fan, that's 18 movies.
I think Unbreakable is an hour and a half or something, and Split, I don't know how long that is. Probably nowhere over 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I think something like that.
So it's not too long either. So I definitely recommend going and watch both of those. Go check out this movie. Definitely worth your money, I would say. And a really nice start to the year and something different. I found last year, we're gonna get all this in the
next week,
in the fucking Golden Geeks is the word I'm looking for. A lot of the big fantastic movies of last year were comic book movies, and this obviously is as well a superhero movie, but it feels so much different, and I'm really excited for this year now. It just started off well.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice break from, although it's a comic book movie, it's not Marvel or DC. It's a totally different feel to it.
Feels so different.
Yeah, so even if you're you know, I need a break from superheroes. It's not, you don't have to avoid it for that reason. It's not a traditional, like, oh yeah, I'm sitting here watching someone fly around and do this. It's still, you know, it's got the realistic aspect to it, I guess you could almost say.
Yeah, definitely.
I found something fun. Unbreakable was 147, an hour 47, and then a Split was an hour 57, and then Glass was 2 hours and 9 minutes, so they almost went up 10 minutes each time, so that's fun. Yeah, so for myself, saw Split whenever it came out and enjoyed that. I was a big fan of Unbreakable. It's probably next to, I like it more than Sixth Sense, because Sixth Sense to me is a great movie. Once you know the twist, it's kind of not as rewatch. It is the first time, and then after that, you know, it's fine. But Unbreakable's great. Shyamalan is always producing something really special. And then when I saw Split whenever it was, 2 years ago, I keep saying last year, it didn't seem like it came out 2 years ago.
Wasn't it?
2017, wasn't
No,
it?
2017, yeah. So it seemed like it was last year, but I remember when I saw that end credit scene, and you can go check out my review, I was like, it was just for fun, they're not going to put these two together, and then months later they announced they're putting them together, and I was shocked, and I was interested to see how it was going to match up, because like both these two have said, like it's very different. I think they did a great job, because I loved this movie. I'm interested once we get into spoilers. It's funny because I said to somebody, and then I also tweeted that like it hit strides for me as like a Logan and Dark Knight. And the reason I say that is because those are the most like comic booky, like non-comic booky, like that's in the genre where it's, you know, they do have a guy in a back costume, a guy with claws, but they try their best to be as realistic as possible, right? And I put it in that type of genre. So for me, I like that type of stuff. I like a realistic take. This is very dark and gritty, and I like that more than, even though, you know, I love my Marvel films, I like the darker stuff more. I love the meta-ness of this. They comment on comic books a lot. Maybe some people might say too much, but I liked what they did. They're constantly calling things out, and to me they kind of had to, because we're in a day and age. Unbreakable came out in 2000, 18 years worth of all these comic book movies, so I thought it's a good idea to, yeah, there might be a trope happening, but they'll just call it flat out. And maybe you don't like that, but that's what I really like. I think the trailers are a little deceiving. I think if you haven't seen this movie and you're expecting a lot of action, I would tone that down quite a bit. I would say it is a blending of the two, but I feel like it's more Unbreakable with its more dialogue and talking heavy. Like, there's some action set pieces in here, but there's a good many chunks of this movie where it's just characters talking, but that's what I really enjoyed, because if you listen to the podcast, I love character work and movies about good characters, and like I said, I always take a movie about good characters over a good story any day, just because I can invest in a person or a thing. McAvoy's fantastic as usual. I wasn't expecting anything else. Bruce Willis actually is awake in this movie, so that's nice, because he phones in a lot. I haven't seen him like this probably since Looper. He's just classic, just, you know, he'll just kind of show up, do his thing, and do where he's supposed to go. But he did good. And it's tough, because David Dunn is like a very subdued character. He does not have like a lot of emotions, but he does it very well. Sam Jackson's great in this movie. I won't say, I don't want to say that because it's a little spoilery, but I feel like the title's like a little deceiving. I'm trying to think of anything else. Action's good, but it's good in like a Shyamalan way. It's not good in like a MC or DC where these big set pieces. Like, I feel like he on purpose makes the action set pieces be a little awkward. Like, there's just a lot of tossing people, you know, like if you like the newest Halloween where Michael just slams people up against a wall bunch, you're gonna love how like the Beast and David Dunn fight. Like, that's primary. So like and it's a lower budget, but yeah, I love this movie. I'm excited to see the rest of the year, because this movie, it's when we're like Golden Geeks for us is next week for 2018. I'm excited for next year, because right now it's my first movie. Well, we saw Escape Room, but like I enjoyed this a lot more than Escape Room.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I love this movie, and I'm excited to spoilers, because the ending kind of, there was a moment that brought me to tears, and I was very, very shocked, because I cry a lot, but I was not expecting to in Glass, and it's just great. They just put everything together. It just felt like an indie Infinity War, you know, with all these characters, all these threads, and it ended, and I just felt so satisfied. I was like, I can't wait to watch this again. I can't wait to watch all three back to back. And I'd say also, I think this movie, there's a good chance you might not like it, because I've heard similar people like Jessica say like they really like the beginning, and then they feel it kind of goes downhill or kind of goes in waves. So I think this is a very mixed movie. I would recommend this to certain people. Like my mom, I'm never gonna go. She's even seen Unbreakable. I don't know if I would recommend it. I'd have to like know the person. So I feel like if you kind of like what I said, my likes, or if you like what Shyamalan, I think always go see a Shyamalan movie, because he's always just doing something. Well, okay, maybe
Has
not.
he ever done a sequel before?
I don't think so. I guess like Split, but like a real sequel? No, I don't think so. No, they've always been one-offs. I mean, in the sense, maybe you don't have to pay for it, but Cheap Tuesday. But he's put out some trash piles. But the thing is, there's always something unique, and you're gonna get something out of it. So
I will say, just because I thought of it while you were talking about it in the beginning, I hadn't seen any commercials for this. Like none at all. Yeah, I went into it completely blind.
Yeah.
And it's funny because around the time where the action starts, which is what you were saying people go and expecting, is around the time where I was kind of like, you know, teetering out a bit and like, you know, this is kind of silly. So I don't know, maybe the trailers will actually help give people almost a little more realistic idea of what to expect as far as that goes.
Like they show them in the asylum. I don't think they stress how much it's really, because like this is in the trailers now. Like if you're listening to this, I feel like you're interested. It's the main plot is like Sarah Paulson's character trying to tell them that they're not real superheroes. But that goes on, like, I think, like, a lot longer than you might expect. Like, that's a big main thing of the story, you know? It's not
She's
just...
a big character in this movie.
Yeah, she's not a road bump where in the trailer it's just like, oh, she might just be a character to help introduce them, together. It's like, no, she's another almost, like, main character in this movie. Definitely. As far as cons, I'd say... there's some acting which is, you know, a little questionable, we'll get into, but I can give it a pass. I think there's some stuff, even though I don't think it was too long, I just think there's some stuff that was a little unnecessary, and I think that's what I'm referring to in the Sarah Paulson kind of time where it's not even big stuff. It's kind of like Dylan said, I have like little quips that I think would have made the pacing a little bit better. I had a lot of problems, which I'm excited to get into in spoilers, because there's a reveal that happens that I think helped a lot of that, and the actual sort of reveals and some sort of Shyamalan twists and whatnot, I feel like I'm not sure how I'm going to know about it until I watch a second time, honestly, because I know we're going to talk about it, but there's stuff where I like about it, but I don't, but, and I can't remember, I had one other con, so keep that in mind, but I had one other con, so yeah, I would recommend it to most people if you're a moviegoer or you like to see something unique, but yeah.
Cool.
Anything else we should say before we get into spoilers?
I don't know what it was, but I really did not like how, apparently Sarah Paulson was her name, I didn't like how she looked. I don't know why. Something about it didn't bug me.
Wow.
Every time she came on, I was just like, it just didn't settle right, you know?
She doesn't look like that in real life.
Maybe it was...
Maybe it was the intense zoom-ins on her face.
There was a lot
of zoom-ins.
There was a lot.
They use it as a big transition, so...
You know, I'm looking, like, I've seen her in other stuff that I like, but I just felt like this movie was...
I don't think I've ever seen her in something.
Really?
Well, I can't recall.
Yeah.
I don't think she normally has that hair, right? So maybe that was...
No.
She's in Bird Box.
She's in Bird Box, Ocean's 8.
Slave.
She's in every single season of American Horror Story, which you never watched, but there's 8 of those, so she's gonna be in the MCU one day. Just watch. If no one picks her next year, she's going to my draft. As that's the other thing, like I looked at our draft, I'm very disappointed with the people I picked. I was like, what was I thinking around that time?
You picked John Cena, didn't you?
John Krasinski, but the rest, like I don't know if I was right on that Steve Carell pick. I don't know.
You picked Steve Carell?
I did.
You're nuts, man.
Just because, like,
you're nuts.
I thought
he's making that Return to Mars movie. He's making movies with little clay figures.
As you can see, no review of that. So okay, 3, 2, 1. If you don't want to be spoiled by Glass or anything, now's your time to tune out because we'll be getting into spoilers right now. So where do we want to start? Do we want to start at the end? Do we want to start at the beginning, the middle? I don't know, because there's a lot of places to go with this movie.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Maybe we... I don't know. Maybe we do start with the end.
You want to start at the end
and the kind of twist there.
Hop on issue.
Because I think that will. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to talk about for sure. So there's, I get it's not really revealed until kind of the end of the movie.
Last 10 minutes.
Okay, so there's one scene earlier though. At one point there's kind of this reveal where the therapist in this movie, she's kind of like transferred to this place where all 3 of them are being held, and she's like, you know, doing her thing, talking to them, and it's kind of not entirely clear what she's doing, but I guess she's just kind of there to convince them they're not superheroes. But then there's kind of this reveal later that she's, you know, part of this like secret organization.
A Hydra almost.
Yeah, and so it doesn't come until the end, but isn't there a scene a little bit early on where they have one of those like meetings? Like, isn't there like one of those quickly where she has like a quick dialogue line? That's like earlier in the movie.
I can't remember if there is.
Yeah, because there's a couple points where, you know, there's like a bunch of people in a restaurant just all talking casually, and then like one couple will leave or something, and it's like everyone else is just, you know, part of the crew. I think that happens like somewhat earlier on, but you don't know what that means at that point, right? I could be wrong, but I thought it was like a little bit earlier than.
I thought it happened with the reveal when she gets David to touch her. It happens, and then it happens again at the end of the movie, like the very end when they're like, "Oh, were these two going to be a problem or anything like that?" So I think that's what it was. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I've gone around to I think I like it because like it sounds weird. I don't know how I feel about the ending, but I like the end. I like where we get to as far as and that's why like I was trying to be. Jump around. Like the movie's called Glass, and I feel like it's called Glass because he's the main guy that perpetrates all this, and at the end of the day, it's like his vision. But really, like for the first half of the movie, he's not really in it, and that's like he's in it, but he's not there. And the thing is,
I do feel like part of that is because, Unbreakable was named after David Dunn.
Yeah.
Split was named after
100%.
the other guy. So it was just his turn.
I have to say this is such a minor con.
And Glass is just like it's a good title.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I hated the opening credits of this movie when it was David Dunn going in the house and everything like that, and it kept the screen kept like breaking into like the names. Hated that effect. Just got to throw that out there.
Really?
It really took me out of it. So yeah, I guess we haven't talked about the reveal. But the reveal is if you're just here for spoilers, you haven't seen the movie. The whole time it's revealed that she is, part of an organization, and they're trying to do a humane thing as far as make them believe they're not superheroes, and then I guess they let them go back into their normal lives, or they'll let them be in this mental institution, but either way they'll live, which that for me did work, because it took away some of my cons of one. I didn't understand why she only had 3 days for the whole movie. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no therapy program where it's like, if you're not fixed in 3 days, like, that's it, like, it's over, like, so that, for me, at first was a major con, and another con was, like, why is she never just, like, asking these people, like, show me your powers, like, let's go outside and get a car, see if you can tip it, so that made sense, like, she wouldn't want to encourage that on, so I like that, it fixed the problems, but the actual whole organization, it's a big pill to swallow when it's not anything that's been hinted at in either Unbreakable or Glass. It's just, it's one of his classic, like, oh, it's there now.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing because you look at all these movies and it's, about those 3 main characters, whereas that is a big twist and reveal that has an effect on the world, but it's not really directly tied to any of them. So it's hard to feel, like, super connected to that twist. It doesn't really have an emotional impact. And then by that time, you're already, like, kind of being overwhelmed by the fact that all 3 of them are getting off one by one.
Same time.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know, I don't think I hate it, but I maybe I do from the perspective that I don't think they're, this is the end of this story, right? Like, they're not going to make another one of these.
Well, I said that, but the non-spoilers, you're like, oh yeah?
They definitely aren't going to make another one, right?
Yeah, no, so, I don't think so.
Yeah, like, where else do you go? You already killed off your, the intrigue with your main characters, so... Yeah, they're not going to make another one of these, so that feels like some sort of setup where it's like, okay, you introduce the idea, now in the next movie you'll, like, break it down more, or, have someone infiltrate them or something like this, but that's, that's just the end of it, is that there is an organization that knows about these people and is trying to, I don't know, I guess just trying different strategies on them to see, like, what other ways there is to sedate them other than just straight up killing them. Or, keeping them in a box for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing they went for, too, like, when you're watching a movie and you see, like, the Hydra symbol or something like that, and you're like, oh, shit! And they, like, show the little tattoo, and I'm
That's
like...
when I knew something was up.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck is it, though? Like, this tattoo doesn't mean anything to me. Like, yes, you're showing it on all these people, but it has no effect, no emotional connection.
I guess their impact they were trying to make is that, because you see it on, like, a couple guards first, and then you see it on, like, the main therapist later, because I guess you still don't know. It's hard to remember, like, the timeline of when she... Because she's the last one you see that, like, later on. Like,
it's on the sniper, then it's on the guy holding his head under.
But it's all in, like, the end scene, and that's where I want to... When I watch it again, I don't think it is, because I don't think you want to tip his hat. But there's a part of me that I hope when I rewatch it, you catch somebody else with it, or someone around, because... I like in kind of a Saw sense, but it's like, oh, it was there all along. I should saw because
I wonder if there's a scene where you can see it on her.
Yeah, and it's not focused. That's what I would like. Of like, oh, you could have saw it, but we weren't zooming.
And
out.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was, honestly, because there is a lot of, like, subtlety in the camera work in all of these. Well, Split I can't remember as much because I haven't watched it in a little bit, but I'm sure it had some interesting camera angles as well. But this and Unbreakable for sure had a lot of, like, really interesting shots. Yeah, and I could see them doing something like that.
How did you feel with that twist, though, just because I don't think you said if you liked or disliked it, so...
About there being this group?
Yeah, like they're Hydra or whatever they are. They didn't get a name, I can't recall.
No, that's why I didn't like it.
They're the Clovers.
The 3 Clovers.
Yeah, is it supposed to be like Unbreakable, Split, and Glass? That's like each of the clover heads.
I thought there was 4 clovers though. I thought that's what made it special.
there?
I thought there was 4.
I don't know. It was
okay.
very small.
It was very small.
Yeah.
They did a lot of zoom-ins, but they didn't zoom in enough on that.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of silly. It makes it feel like there is going to be another one, but it's, so it's just going to be a completely different run of characters just in the world that's been built. And I don't know how I feel about that. I think there could have been a better way to end it that could have left it so they could have made another one if they wanted to, but if this was all you wanted to do with the series, it could have just cut and that would be it.
Yeah, like maybe they could have done like some more personal story with the therapist where she maybe knew someone and they like ended up dying or something, someone who she thought had powers or something. Maybe I don't know, there'd be a lot you have to change for that to happen. But I think, the having that big organization, it does take away from like the down-to-earth realism aspect that at least Unbreakable really was going for, and I think Glass does a lot throughout most of it. So I don't know, maybe that's like grander scale than something we would expect from like these more smaller character-driven stories. So it's a little out there of a twist, and then I don't know, just the fact that it isn't like directly related to any of them it makes it like I don't know, not have as much impact as maybe they were hoping for. I'm not sure. Because the ending is already so loaded with other stuff as well, so.
And it's just kind of, out of nowhere. It seemed, you would think that there would have been some mention somewhere along the way.
But you don't want to do that. You don't want to tip the hat because if it's a secret organization, can't be secret.
No, but like at least, a mention of this doctor's name or a mention of clinical testing that's happening.
It could have even been something that Glass was like in on or something, like not in on that he's part of the organization, but in on that he had caught onto them or something, or he had some suspicions and maybe he like brings it up to I don't know what to call McAvoy's character because he has a million names.
Kevin. I would go with Kevin. I know what the real name.
Yeah, so maybe when they have that first conversation, like maybe he mentions it or brings it up or something.
But then you can't have the twist, right? If he has any idea there's a secret organization, because even when he's dying, he's like, "Oh, this is an origin story." That effect goes away. I guess for me, because at first I was like, it really took me out of it. I was like, "Whoa." And then once I started thinking about it, I feel like they set up in small ways. Like I tried to think about it just in any other comic book. And when, what the hell is Anna Taylor-Joy's character name? The girl I got. Casey. Yeah. At one point, I can't remember who she's talking to. I think it was Sarah Paulson's character, the Doctor, and she's like, in the first comic book, Superman couldn't even fly. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing that we're talking about that with Unbreakable. You look at Unbreakable, how small it is, and if Split's in the next world, Split's like growing, right? And then in Glass, this is growing to that like classic comic world. There's this huge overarching villain. It's the same in comic books, like all these things start small. Like Batman at one point was just a guy in a cape with a gun, and then now he's this, and he has all these orphans. Like to me, that's how I ended up like enjoying it and making it work. And I think the reason I also liked it is one, I feel like the reason it's random. I feel like he's semi-taking I feel like it turns that's why I can't wait to watch the movie again. I feel like it makes this movie very political because I feel like you got so much today with people being investigated and this and that, and this was to me was like people should step up or try to reveal information that's out there, and that's why to me like it is this thing people always joke about, like, aliens and that being covered up. If those things are true, that's what this kind of is like, right? Like should we trust the government? Are they hiding these things? So that's where to me it's a very political movie now. And I love the reveal though, because like the second one, because all Unbreakable is about is Elijah wants the world to know that they're superheroes, and he wants a reveal, right? And that was his goal. It didn't happen in Unbreakable. Obviously, he goes to Unbreakable, one of the worst endings of all time, I think, because I hate how it just cuts to black and then it gives you all the ending in like text. You're like, okay, like it feels like he didn't have budget for it, but he did because he's got Sixth Sense. So he was all about revealing it. So to me, he could reveal it at the end of this movie without the Hydra thing and it'd still be big, but the fact that people were trying to hide it makes it even bigger, and that's what I end up liking the reveal. I have to really sit on it, but before I was like down on it, but I'm more in the middle to liking it now because I feel like the ending is not as powerful if we don't get that reveal.
Well, because that is the bigger reveal, right? The big reveal is that he, was filming all of it, and that it's already been sent out, and that people are already seeing it by the time they're just like, trying to cover it all up.
Yeah.
And that reveal had impact, and I thought it was well done, and it fit, like, tied in with the movie, where it's something that I didn't predict because it was a little out there, but it all made sense at the end, right? It's like, oh, he is a genius, and he planned all this out, and he was one step ahead, as she mentioned. Like he did that a couple times throughout this movie. So I feel like if the Hydra thing was maybe like mentioned earlier, maybe the reveal for that could have been that the therapist was part of it, and maybe they were playing up that she wasn't part of it throughout, and so that reveal could have impact or something. But I don't feel like they needed that to be like a big thing to do right at the end, because that reveal of what Glass was planning the whole time, that was the big reveal, and that was the one that it feels like that's what all these movies were building up towards, right? They weren't building up to this Hydra moment where it's like there's a secret organization.
I think the Elijah thing is a bigger reveal, but I think the Hydra thing is a bigger twist, because the reveal to me, if you were to put on two cards and say what would happen in Glass, like Elijah will reveal the secret one or the secret organization, I'd always go with the Elijah one because he's at least talked about that, right? I think that the bigger twist is the Hydra thing, because it's something that, for good or poor, we could not have predicted. Really, like if you did, then congrats.
Yeah,
you got.
That's something for sure. That's I'm really curious how I'll feel about it when I'm watching the movie again, and with that perspective, and maybe I'll be looking out for like what other characters were in on this that we saw earlier in the movie, but I just assumed were nobodies.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a lot more, and maybe there is like some little cinematography things where you see like the symbol on other people that you weren't expecting. So. Yeah, for sure. But I think, on one watch, I don't think I love it originally, but it didn't take away from the ending, because the ending had so much other stuff going on between, obviously, we just talked about that Glass reveal, as well as all of these other characters having the end of their story. So.
Yeah.
I think a better way that might have been to do it, when he touches her, like her sin or secret should have been her convincing someone else that they weren't a superhero, and then at the end going to the organization and being like, it's done, so you can tell that. I don't know, I just felt like having the exact same scene 2 times as well.
Right.
Like the Vision was the exact same thing.
Well,
in a restaurant, people leave and then they start talking.
Yeah, and I think the Vision is like it's like a little clunky how like the reveals. Like I appreciate the reveal now. I think I'm warming up to it, but like he's getting drowned, he's losing his life, and she's like, stop, and then like touch me, and then like just wanting you to know, like, did I convince you? And then like kills him again. It's like, what if by chance like somebody stopped these two and David got away? It's like, so for me that was like, I'm like I said, I'm going back and forth on the reveal, but I didn't like the reveal how it was done, because that was a little clunky of like, I'm gonna stop right before you get murdered. Like the Elijah one felt more natural, because like, well, he's dying. Kevin doesn't care about no Hydra, so that's why they didn't tell him, because like he's off in some other world. That's the least of his problems. There's some organization going on. So
he's got an organization in his head.
Yeah. So I wish that was done in a little better way. But in my non-spoiler, it says the moment where I cried was when they flash. I thought it was so well done, because the whole Unbreakable, if like you got Elijah's quest, like Joseph's quest is all about making his dad be a superhero. And his dad's so reluctant, and he doesn't want to do it. And that moment I love in Unbreakable, when like they slides the paper and he sees his head and he just does that shh. And when they flash back to it, the key moment, the ending, I can't explain why. Maybe it's because I'm a dad now. It just fucking broke me. All of a sudden tears just happened. I was like, but I thought it was such a nice moment, because it was like he wants his dad to be a superhero. His dad pushed back. I love the stuff at the beginning. Their little interactions of like, you can't go for a walk today. Well, that's a weird scene we'll talk about. But like the very beginning, when they have their own little superhero base and it's in the thing. But just like you see like the evolution of him not wanting to do it, he did it. Now he's gonna be like probably in this world like an icon sort of, right? Like he's gonna be looked at as like the first
the
real
man?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the tiptoe man. And that's what I loved. It was just like thinking about that
That would
little
have been a good nickname at the start.
thinking about that little, that would have been too fun. Thinking of it, I never wanted to tiptoe.
Let's start again, guys. Cancel.
Hello, ladies. No. But like, I just thought that really hit home to me as far as with that characters and those characters. Because at first, like, oh, how do I feel about David dying? But that made it completely right for me, because it just felt a whole evolution. It felt like a circle of, oh man, what they wanted to do, they did. And yeah, he lost his dad, but he's so proud of his dad, and everyone's seeing this. So I love them all conjoining, because even Elijah's mom, who's like kind of shady, she's not a bad person, but she's never gonna stop her son because she loves her son. So I like there's these characters that have all these conflicting stories, and that's how I could see like the reveal, and even stuff like when Samuel Jackson goes, oh, all the main characters are getting together. I could see people not liking that stuff. I like that stuff because it is tropey, so just call it out, like be kind of Deadpoolish with it. But this is a movie that I can see people come to me and be like, I hate it.
That did feel a touch cheesy for me. I think one reason is because when David's son is Joseph, is his name?
Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, Joseph Casey, and I can't remember Elijah's mother.
Elijah's mother. I'll
Yeah,
find
because
out,
all
yeah.
three of them kind of just show up at the same time, and it's like when stuff's going on, and then the therapist just walked outside. So
I don't know why the mom was there. I understand that Joseph
I don't know
was
why.
there.
I don't really know why any of them were there. Like,
Well, Joseph was there to tell the secret of like he killed your dad.
Okay.
And then she was there just to like I think try to save Kevin.
yeah,
and, like,
but for all of them to show up at the exact same
Yeah.
time was like what? You couldn't have like come up with some slightly better reason. And maybe that was best. Maybe like having a scene of each of them arriving would have been too much and would have like ruined the pacing of that for sure. But it did feel a little bit clunky when it happened. But I completely agree. I really liked the relationship between Joseph and his father in this movie. And it was really cool just to have that original actor back as well. I thought have that kid back, all grown up was a pretty cool moment.
Was it the same kid?
It was.
Oh, very cool.
I wasn't 100% sure. I nudged Travis and asked him, but you can kind of tell like that guy has got some intense eyes.
His eyes look like in the Beast.
They're like
little Beast.
They're like little vortexes,
Oh, yeah.
man. Like you could probably look in that thing and get lost in the annals of time, dude. I don't know. I would be scared if I saw that guy in person. I would probably try not to make eye contact.
No, I agree with you. I've never understood. Her name is just Mrs. Pierce. Elijah's mom. So there you go. So you can just call her Elijah's mom. But yeah, his eyes are daunting.
And you brought up that one scene where he's like telling his dad not to go for a walk. It's the scene where M. Night Shyamalan makes a cameo and he calls back to his character in Unbreakable. That was my biggest pet peeve.
And Split. He's the same character in both movies.
Was he in Split?
He's in Split. He plays in Split when
I haven't watched Split since I've seen Unbreakable.
I watched it this week. So you know, like Kevin's original therapist, he had that lady therapist. They lived in the same building, and she got killed. So that's why he's in the camera. He's like, "Oh yeah, one of my tenants like got killed or something like that, or one of my
Okay.
So like apparently like Unbreakable and this like he's the same character.
I recognized that he was like the guy from Unbreakable.
The drug guy.
And I was like, this is so cheesy. Oh, you used to work at the stadium back in the day, didn't you?
I see.
Yeah, what? Like that to me was so unnecessary, and I guess it makes sense. He's kind of trying to do his own little Stan Lee sort of thing in his superhero world. But
him and Tarantino love that.
Yeah,
they can't get
it's
it.
Just like at least Tarantino's characters are like a character that should be in the movie typically, and he's like, I'm just being this guy who's in
sometimes
the movie.
I don't know what Django.
Reservoir Dogs as well, maybe not.
Yeah, there's some hit or misses there too.
At least in Death Proof, it's like okay, that character needs.
And that's why when you were mentioning like there's some goofy comedy, I think because I don't know what everyone you've seen other than Unbreakable and Split, but in a lot of other Shyamalan movie, he's like really known for that, and like his comedy feel like it really never hits. And there's some time here where it doesn't. Even the first scene with David and Joseph, I feel like the pacing was really off in their conversation sometimes. I think that's I like the kid coming back. I don't think he's the strongest actor because I don't know if he's even still an actor anymore. I think he might just came back to do this, and I felt some of his stuff.
I think he is.
Is he? I'll look it up, but if so, I felt like there's a little off there and whatnot, but like he does some goofy comedy, and I don't know how much it works and how much it doesn't.
I don't think he was fantastic necessarily. He was certainly lower than the main cast, but he wasn't
M. Night.
but he wasn't bad enough to take me out.
Oh no, he's still acting.
Yeah.
He's still like I just saw because he's one of those guys never seen him in anything else other than Unbreakable.
Me neither.
You know, it's
Yeah,
just crazy. So.
Yeah.
Let's see. What did you feel about? Because I guess we're talking about David. What do you feel about David and Joseph, Jessica? Because we kind of somehow backway transitioned to those two. So
Joseph looks like someone else too, or the actor. I don't know if he has a brother or not, but I feel like he looks like someone.
nice middle name, Treat. You know,
Yeah,
Treat. Spencer Treat.
Clark.
Yeah.
He's a treat.
But what did you think about?
On the cast.
Yeah, you're open after I just said you were not the greatest actor. I don't think he was bad. I just But Jessica, what did you think about David and Joseph in this movie?
I do like that they brought him back because it's funny because when they showed the kid version of him, I actually said to Matt, I was like, holy fuck, they really got an actor that looks like this kid.
And those were deleted scenes. Those weren't in Unbreakable. They're deleted scenes. So that's pretty cool.
Really?
What is?
Those scenes that Elijah at the park with his mom, and then the scene where he goes into the bed, some of it's there, but then some stuff they use unused footage from Unbreakable. Cool. So that's a good idea of because at first when he walked in, I was wondering if they're using the de-aging on Bruce Willis because it was stuff I hadn't seen, but I read it today that they're deleted scenes. So that's don't delete the scenes, delete the tweets,
yeah,
not the scenes.
Keep that hard drive.
Anyways, continue.
I didn't mind some of their banter, at the beginning, the whole tiptoe man thing. The M. Night Shyamalan down scene, it's kind of not something that you would do in front of a customer. It's just a little awkward. But I didn't get a chance to say it, but I do feel like, regardless of whether or not you like his cameo and the comment about the stadium, I do think it is kind of cool that it does kind of entangle that it is the same world and there is the same people in it, kind of in that respect. I haven't seen Unbreakable since I saw Split, because I watched it like the day after. So I didn't remember that he worked at the stadium and saw this guy, or that he lived in the same building.
He didn't work.
It's
He's just
just
a guy
like
that he
it's like a
bumps
very
into.
quick scene.
Yeah, and he's like into drugs. That's why I like when he's like, oh yeah, I used to hang out with some shady people back in the day.
Yeah, he just like randomly searches him at the stadium.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole scene.
Yeah. Oh, M Night.
Very goofy.
So, yeah, I think that, you know, they try and go for this whole thing that this kid is really good on computers. You know, there's the one scene where
The guy in the chair, pretty much.
he
Yeah.
hacks into the feed when she's calling the cops or whatever it is and hears her. But everything that he did was like Google and Bing. And I was like, you're really, you know, you could show him doing something a little bit more than
On
that.
darkweb.com.
So I just felt like, you know, how did going from using Bing search go to hacking this chick's walkie-talkie feed?
Bing's a pretty good service, you know. That's all I got.
Bing is a great search engine.
Yeah. He paid a lot for that
Easily top
sponsorship.
10 search engines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's no Yahoo,
like
but
the 3 top search engines.
Hell
There's
yeah.
like 3 search
Easily in
engines.
the top 10. There's a lot more than that. We just don't hear about them. But you hear about Bing.
Ask Jeeves,
Ask
Answers.com.
Yeah.
I don't think Answers.com is like
Yahoo.
Yeah,
Answers.
I don't think it's a search browser anymore.
Really?
I think they
That's
closed it. Either they closed it or they were. I
That's
used to love
very
Yahoo.
emotional for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really like them both. Like I said, I like Bruce Willis. I feel like he's in the movie the least out of the 3, but it's also tough just because David, even if he's in the room, he just feels like he's not there. So
He's quiet.
yeah, he's a quiet guy. So like I said, I thought all his acting was really well done because he can sometimes be a little iffy. I love their relationship. Like I said, I think there's some dialogue. I feel that was sometimes only pacing. Like there's just something. There was a line, I don't know what it was when they were talking, the very first scene they had together, and there was just like an awkward pause, and he's like, I won't go for a walk, you know. It's just like there's just a few times where it's like I don't know if that's acting or M Night being he has some kind of weird director tics, like especially in Split he makes some really weird choices too. He just likes doing that type of stuff. So like I said, I liked how the whole evolution of it. I liked him being the guy in the chair. I thought it was a good follow up. I like that they for the story I like that they got rid of his wife because I felt like that would have been an extra 20 minutes added to the movie if she was still alive because he would have been like
And
that.
they did a lot of that in the first movie as well. So.
Yeah, and that could be fun if like she didn't know he was a hero and whatnot, but it's like that's a different movie then because that's just another Unbreakable too, right? If you're gonna add McAvoy and you're gonna bring back Glass, you can't have time. So yeah, there's a terrible shot of like some woman in a wig that's supposed to be Robin Wright pen, just Rob Wright now. Yeah, I liked everything they did there. Action scenes, I dislike but like the action scenes. I like them because they feel more gritty. I just think they're not the greatest shot, and
There's a lot of just like dudes hugging each other.
Yeah, and a lot of like just
Trying to break
close
up.
up on Bruce Willis' face, like it's
Yeah,
just like.
that one scene, it goes back and forth between that.
For a while,
At
yeah.
least a minute.
And that's where it's weird. It's kind of like the reveal where it's like, I like it because it's unique to that world, but from the eyes, it's not aesthetically pleasing. Like, it's just like, I just want to see him throw like a fucking punch sometimes, but he's always just like chucking people. So I like and dislike the action scenes, but I lean more to like because they're trying to make it as realistic as possible. So, okay, at one point they were literally just shoving it against each other up against a truck like 10 times. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Like, nothing that new or exciting, but, you know.
Well, it's funny that you say that you like the acting and stuff with Bruce Willis because it's got to be like 75% of the scenes he's just in this big green trench coat and you can't see his face and you can't see his actual movements.
Yeah, it's just the times where he is like having to emote.
Wait, 75%? No.
That one's at 75.
No,
Yeah.
no way.
He's only it's more some of the emotional stuff, like when he's dealing up against Glass or not. And I'd say, not that it's like a big negative, I wish maybe him and Elijah had one good scene together, really. They have that scene where Elijah talks to him in the intercom, and I don't, want to just rewrite the movie, but I wish that they just had one interaction, because then after that, which I love the scene when he saves him from the beast and Elijah with his gross teeth, like, hero ally to the villain now, classic whatever, and that's the only scenes they really get, and that's one of my cons. I think that's
a good point.
I think that was one of my cons that I couldn't say in non-spoilers, and I wish, because they're so important. They're like the Batman and the Joker, and what they're doing with Elijah, if you read Dark Knight Returns, he's just the Joker. The Joker in that comic book is just pretending to be not well, and then when he sees Batman, he's well again all of a sudden, so it's ripped right from that, so it's a big comic thing. So I would have liked one interaction, because they're, the yin, the yang, but
that's a good point.
Yeah, I liked everything, pretty much everything that happened with David and Joseph, and there's stuff that I'll get into more of Joseph when we get into Glass, which maybe we can talk about.
Well, I have a couple quick things on David. His weakness of being water, I thought was well used in this movie, where you get that flashback scene of like why that is. I felt like that could have been pretty cheesy, but it was well done, and I like that point when Kevin. It feels weird to call him Kevin. I'm just gonna call him McAvoy. It feels like McAvoy picks him up and just like tosses him into the tank. I feel like maybe he wasn't throwing him like that much at any point previous, like just throwing him like 10 feet in the air like that. But either way, it was still cool, and I liked that scene a lot, where when he was stuck in that tank, you were kind of getting that flashback, and then he's like powering through it and just kind of carrying on. But after that, he's like completely just knocked out, and it really just shows how much of a weakness it is.
And even McAvoy, like, that's what I do. Like, they still keep him. I love that he still feels like the horror aspect of this movie, because when he throws Dunn in the water, you think that's bad enough. But then when you see like him like dive in, you're just like, oh man, this is just a terrible situation to be in. You're in your worst fear, and he's just this massive. Like, McAvoy's so jacked in this movie, and he's just after you. Yeah, I don't want to be in that water.
Yeah. And then the last thing I think would be a nice transition is that scene where it's the classic, the poster scene. Where you have all three of them sitting in a chair and the therapist talking to them one by one. Obviously, that was in the trailers, so I was like, I have a pretty good ability to like disconnect the scenes from the trailers when I'm sitting down and watching a movie. But when that scene popped up, I was like, okay, this is gonna be good, and it definitely lived up to the hype for me. I really liked David's perspective in that conversation, where the therapist is like convincing him that he has just built this all up in his head, that it's all an illusion. Or delusion, you could say, and it felt believable, and it was so believable that I was thinking like, wait, like, does he actually have powers? Like, is there just like some camera trickery where like that scene where he picks up McAvoy and they jump out the window, like, was that only maybe like a one-story building? Like, does he have superpowers, or is he really
cautious watching this guy?
And like that setup of like, how did you find him in the in that old brick plan? And she's like explaining all the ways that he could have done it just subconsciously, but he just built it up as something else. I thought that was really well done, and because you would think maybe like after he's been doing this for so long that having one conversation would be like too quick for that change to happen, where he doesn't believe he actually has powers. But I thought that scene was just so well written and so well done from everybody involved that it was a believable character point for that. So big shout outs there. I mean, I really like that whole scene. But particularly from David's perspective, I thought it was really good.
I agree with you. I like that scene. I don't think I was the same as you. I never bought that they were going to go with this twist. I thought maybe he was, or like that would be, they don't have powers. I think maybe that was M. Night's way of trying to put some breadcrumbs in front of people to try and go that way, because he's always known for a twist, and maybe that was going to be the big one. I really like the scene. Again, that's the only disadvantage of Elijah doing his ploys. I would have loved to see him interact with them in that scene, but it's the same as a reveal, right? They go hand in hand. He has to be kind of just a dummy. So, but I really like that scene as well. So,
And from McAvoy's perspective as well, like how he's kind of like taunting David after he gets talked down to a bunch, but then she just goes right after her and after that and breaks him down. Was really awesome. So that scene was obviously that's a big scene. It's the money shot of all of them sitting next to each other, but. It's their poster scene. It's in the trailers.
Yeah, and just the way that room was
up to. But I felt like
like just that pink
the shot of it.
Yeah.
But I feel like that scene, oftentimes you see something like that in a trailer, and you wonder like what they're gonna do with it exactly. And it like I don't know. I wasn't expecting like the conversation that was gonna be had in that room, right? And so that was really enjoyable. Where should we hop next? One of the other two?
Well, because before I forget, and this is where I'll ask, just because you said so on TikTok, for me, I think there's some stuff in there. Sarah Paulson talked a lot in that chunk. I'd say in that 35 to 45 minutes. I think you could have took out some of it, because I think she's talking about, you know, you're gonna be, are you a superhero or you're not a superhero? And I feel like that is repeated quite a bit. And then there's just little stuff like the first time, this one never fit, like it never turned around. It was one arc that I understood that they put in there so stuff could happen in the movie. But if you have a guy who has at this point killed up to 8 to 12 girls and was about to kill 4 more, and if you have this guy locked up, even if you have these lights, I don't believe for a second in any mental institution that, and I have a father that for years that's his job, he works in those, so you would never just be able to go in there with a tray in any of those. Like with that, so that's one thing I didn't like. I thought they might explain that way, they never did. So I took it away as like, okay, movie magic, but it bugged me every time they're in Kevin's or the Beast room of like, look at like Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter. Get a fucking door where you can just shove the. You don't need to be in there. So that bugged me every time. Like to me, it made it a little too easy for them to get out, and like just the way like when they had that moment, which I love, when David and the Beast see each other, when he's Hedwig and they see each other, and Hedwig was like running at the door. But the fact that these guys just leave these doors swing open, these aren't your average, like, sick, you know, mentally ill people. These are guys that are, he's beating guys with a bloody pulp and David. The Beast has killed many people. Elijah, fine, I can understand because he act. But those two had really bugged me that I felt they just kind of left it open so, oh, they can do stuff, right? It's a little lazy.
I feel like he could have countered that hypnosis machine as well. If he just, like, picked up one of those bed sheets and hit his eyes and like, covered his ears or something, I feel like he could have just walked over to them and disabled it or something. So.
But honestly, so for you, you said the beginning start. Was that the stuff that tapered down for you, or what was the stuff that kind of went down? Because you said the action, but did you like all the what is it, the asylum sort of stuff? Because we're in there for majority of the movie, I'd say. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind pretty much most of the asylum stuff. Like there was a couple things that I questioned, like. You know, it's an entire massive asylum. Why are they straight across from each other?
Oh, yeah. It seems like you're testing fate right there.
Yeah, or the fact that you see no one else in here, and then all of a sudden when there's all the fighting outside, it's like, keep all the staff and patients away from the windows, and there's like hundreds of people, and it's like, where the frick did you guys come from?
And only one guard at night.
Yeah.
Well, one guard, especially these 3 that are like...
And sometimes no guard, because... Why would you guys not account for that? Like,
yeah, I feel like you should always have 2 on shift. You know,
I think 3, 1 for each of them.
Especially in this, in maybe in not all situations, but maybe in this situation. You know, this guy who is like.
Like at first, it could make sense from the perspective that like, oh, they don't actually believe they're superheroes, so it makes sense. You put him in this big steel bin, he's not gonna make it out. But obviously, it's revealed later. At least the therapist like thought they did have powers. So why are you just leaving them completely unguarded? That's so stupid.
Yeah.
And they never do show how Glass gets out before he gets that key card either, right?
Yeah, he had. I thought he. Oh, yeah. I guess not. No, they never did. He's just in the computer room, but you know, so he's the mastermind. I'm sure he figure out some way, but.
You know, they're just little kind of things that they don't make sense. You know, it's the same 2 guards. There's no.
Daryl and whatever his name.
Yeah,
Meryl.
But then they go downstairs into the basement and there's 3 guards and 2 nurses and and it's like, where the frick were you guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of little like just oversights, I would say.
Yeah,
particularly in that sequence.
Joe would do great in here from you. You know, he better hope he goes to this mental institution because he'd get out real quick.
There we go.
Yeah,
watch our review. There you go.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed most of what was going on inside. I liked seeing all the different characters from McAvoy. I think that he did a good job being consistent with the multiple different characters, and you know, if he said someone's name or he started talking, you could match it to another time that was said before. It wasn't, you know, there's only his 11 personalities or whatever it is.
24.
Is it 24?
Because there's I think they said there was like 10 on like Team Horde or something like that.
Yeah.
So they like split up. But yeah, he has 24 technically.
So, yeah, because I remember them saying a lower number in this.
Yeah.
So, and it was, part of that was good because he did go back to the same characters as opposed to trying to spread it out to 24 and it just kind of being like, who the frick are we listening to?
Because a lot of the characters he brought back were ones you didn't see him as, but there's one moment where Casey, when she breaks out in Split, on the computer is recordings of all the different characters. So that's why like Jade, we never saw Jade in the movie, but we saw her on the computer screen, so he used a lot of those. And big shout out, because I love his Barry personality. That's like what the guy who's like an artist and he's one of the nice guys, and I love that he was the one that like woke up in the middle when he got arrested. Like, I'm Barry, like what's going on? A nice touch.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see how like those different personalities have different stances on everything and,
Yeah.
and different perspectives, and yeah, they are Team Horde, Team whatever.
When Hedwig said that, like, we're Team Horde, I was like, oh my god, like, but it was fantastic. Like,
Yeah, it was very like consistent, and you can see like little development or like changes within those like sub characters. So really cool.
The only complaint that I have about those, I guess we're talking about Kevin, Beast, McAvoy, is with because Unbreakable I've seen a few times, like a lot more than Splits, but I'd seen that once, so that one I made sure I watched this again this week. Dennis in that movie, the only way they make his turn is at the beginning of the credits, and Dennis in that movie, he is kidnapping the girls. He seems like he's working for Patricia, but he doesn't show any like reluctance to do it, where in this movie it starts the first thing Dennis is like, can we trust the Beast, is this going well? So that's my a minor quibble, that in Split Dennis at no point, you can see that you can see that he maybe doesn't like that these girls have to die, but it seems like he's still for it because he's like knows the greater good. I wish there was maybe a bit more development there, because I thought Dennis would be like, if it wasn't gonna be the Beast turning, which we'll get into like the big like another reveal, which I think was I think if you watch Split, you know that's happening right away, which we'll get into. But with Dennis, I thought that was going to be maybe he was going to be one of the guys that turned around, but we only got little flashes of he was not really into this or he wanted to change, but there wasn't too much of it, and that's maybe one minor quibble I have with one of the personalities. I just think it maybe wasn't even needed. You already have Kevin in there, who's a good guy, and I feel like that's where I actually like McAvoy's performance more in this than Split, because in Split it gets a little creepy, but I liked the Kevin aspect. I liked that we got to see more him of the normal guy, this guy who's just, his life's gone to shambles, right? And he doesn't want, and he doesn't know what to do. And I love, and the chemistry that he had with Anna Taylor-Joy, who Travis, big star stamp on her. Those two are really good together.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I'm not sure if you guys think this. Do you also think she's a superhero? Because I feel like that was implied many times. At one point, Sarah Paulson says, like, you have the ability to change and mute and whatnot. And at one point when she touches him, I was getting the Rogue sort of X-Men vibes. That she has like a healing sort of way, or just like
really?
a
I
way
didn't
to...
take it like that at all. I just took it as she had that personal connection with him. She was the only person that had that personal connection with him, because she knew about his past and knew about Kevin. And so
when you watching it, I'll throw out some certain things to watch for, because it was times where whenever she touched him, it was like it could be the personal connection, but there was just a line the way Sarah Paulson said that made me think that could be a possibility. And so yeah, that's a Travis theory that I have, that she might have.
Maybe there will be another one starring her.
Because they kept saying, right, like both Sarah Paulson says like one superhero will create another, and then even Elijah says like, this is what I do, I create superheroes, right? When he realizes Dunn and then him, he would almost now, if he's created Dunn and he created the Beast, in a way that would create another one in her, right? So I don't think there will be another one, but that's kind of that was my inference. I took it that she kind of had like a power of not even persuasion in a way, something like that. I don't know. That's why I'm excited to watch again. But
well, yeah, maybe if these powers aren't just like something they're born with, maybe it's something that with her would change and develop over time.
Well, they talk about powers being almost like you just have to believe you have these powers, right? And that like the power of belief is strong enough. So.
Well, yeah, the Beast was created to protect Kevin. It wasn't something he was born with.
Yeah.
It was created from his tragedy.
Right.
So I agree with you though. I didn't see it as her having any type of superpower. And I mean, if you're going along that line, that you could almost say, what, is Joseph gonna get a superpower now because his dad died, so it created this tragedy for him?
I'll switch over to Google.
Yeah, his superpower is search engine optimization.
I think though he's not gone through what she's gone through. He's lost his mom and dad, but she's a rape survivor. She went through a very traumatic experience with a Beast. She wouldn't want the Beast. So I feel like he did go through a trauma, but I feel like he went through like an ultra trauma, where you look at the Beast, like Kevin tortured by his mom. David he's a train crash, so like that's probably pretty traumatic to your body. I've never been in a train crash, but I'm just gonna assume. So I'd say that
didn't really do much to him. He went out.
No, but that's where it's just, so that's where my thinking was too, that she's been through like these physical traumas as well, kind of like Kevin, that maybe she's evolving in a way. But like I said, I don't think this is a setup for that. Just a theory I'm throwing out there. What else do we have to add on Kevin or her or anything like that?
On McAvoy, I really like, so in Split and even the beginning of this one, there's always that fight. People change and come out, and they want the light. And then as soon as there's that doubt after that conversation, the poster scene as you call it, and everyone starts to wonder if the Beast maybe isn't real, and Patricia starts to get scared and everyone else gets scared, and then they start talking about how no one wants the light, and that's why Hedwig, or whatever his name is, he says, he's like, they're telling me to hold the light. And he's all excited because in the first one he has to fight to get the light until Patricia wants it. Yeah.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of a cool way to play on, you know, the doubt that's happening in his mind with the fight between his personalities, how it goes from everyone wants it to, you know, everyone's hiding because they don't know how to react to all this incoming information and what's going on.
Plus, I think at the end, no one wanted the light because they were also dying too, so they didn't want to experience dying. And except for Kevin, I felt like I wanted to die. Like even in Split, at one point, he asks Casey to kill him. So like, obviously, it's supposed to mean that he finally has control of them all. But I also just took it as he wants to die, so that's why he's holding on to the light. And at the end, none of them want to die. They don't want to experience that feeling, so they just keep.
I thought that was just because of Casey, because she's going, you know, will you stay in the light with me for a while longer? And then, you know, he's finally having some emotions that he hasn't felt since his mom, since she passed, right? So, you know, he finally had some enjoyment in life, but I definitely can see where you're going with him wanting to die.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking more before that, though, even when they were in the asylum.
I have one more thing here on him. Where'd it go? Where are you, Mac?
I loved all the. I know we're gonna talk about Glass in a second, but I loved all their back and forth because that was very fun.
That's what I was gonna say. That another classic twist. A lot of those in this movie. That his McAvoy's dad. That just sounds incorrect now. So
Kevin's dad.
Kevin's dad was. Now that you guys have said Kevin a bunch, I think it sounds okay for me.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have. It is. I know it does feel a little coincidental that his Kevin's dad was also on that same train, but it didn't like come across that way in the movie. It felt warranted, and I think it built up to a good plot point. And I like the scene where Joseph like reveals that to him, and Glass is like, no, not yet.
And that's why I like that Glass kind of knows, and that's the best thing about what I like the meta of it is, even in Unbreakable, Glass talks about, he's telling David like the complex relationship between like a hero and a villain. He says like there's a hero, and then there's always like a brains villain that always brings in a brawn villain to like match that because he can't do that. And obviously that wasn't realized till 20 years later, but he like set that up of him saying like there's always that dynamic. And if you watch comic book movies, if you follow the Spider-Man animated series where it happens a lot, when there's a team up, there's always something that comes up that has to break up that team up. Whether it's money, whether it's personal, whether it's a woman, there's always something. And that's what I love that this was at. There's always something. And in Split as well, they set it up because the very first time you see the Beast is he goes on a train. And I remember everyone was like, his dad must have been on the train. And I felt 100% when Elijah read that file and he's like, oh no. Like that's where I leaned over him. I'm like, oh, 100% he was on that train because it just was like, that's his weakness, right? Like, of course he finally has like this powerful, a guy that can do everything he can't, but there's like a flaw of like shit, like at some point I'm gonna find out and I'm gonna die. And it's also like, that's why I like he keeps accepting that, and like when he finds out about like the Hydra, he's like, this is an origin story. That's why I like that he has his goals, but if something goes wrong or not against him, he's like, well, this is a comic book like kind of trope, like it has to go this way, like it's almost like written that way, right? So I love that reveal, even though it is very, I feel like for me, I saw it come my way, I liked it just because it's like, it's a classic comic book thing, and they're just little things to add, like, oh, not yet, like it added for me. So
I think that adds a good aspect because they all have like their weaknesses, but they're all very different types of weaknesses. Like for David, it's like a pretty classic like superhero weakness, right? Where it's just like an element is his weakness. And for the Beast, it's like it's a particular character that can, you know, break it to his core. Whether that's entirely true or if it's because she has powers of her own, I don't know. It's
or just a relationship.
I haven't thought about that till now. But for Glass,
and bright lights too.
Really bright.
High frequency sounds.
For Glass, obviously he has a physical ailment. That's just his life.
When he fell out of that chair, anytime Elijah gets hurt.
Staircase.
But no, even today on this today, or maybe last night when he punched him and starts to roll back and he just falls to his knees and his face and just the scream
crunch.
Samuel Jackson. I'm like, oh, like it just gets me.
Seeing him, like that flashback of him on that
Oh.
that Ferris wheel thing
Oh.
and it's like all crooked, very
Oh,
nasty.
it's terrible. And I would also say before we continue, if a parent came up and said you have to stop the ride, I had hope. I've seen it happen many times, and literally people will just stop
They
the ride
slam the button.
immediately. Yeah, but this guy's just like, oh, it's me. You can tell he's trying to talk
maybe
about
that
it.
employee was just like a big stoner. and
100%. Yeah, but
I
that's
feel like that there's a lawsuit there though.
100.
America?
Well,
That's
after you see the shape that kid is in, that is definitely a lawsuit.
yeah. Plus, like that's probably why how he bought all those comics Unbreakable. He just has all this, health insurance money. So.
Yeah, it's probably pretty easy for him, to fake injuries like that. You just instigate anybody, and they do like the littlest thing, a little shove, and it's like my whole body is broken.
And that's what I
That's
like.
4 bones, right?
That's one thing I like when Hedwig was kind of like, oh, I could just flick you and break something, and he's just like, you could, like, it's just the way Hedwig, this little kid, is like playing with him. So that was great. Anything they had was great.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is obviously they all have like their physical weakness, but obviously the true weakness to Glass is like you gotta find that one thing that he wasn't thinking of, or like the one thing that his plan like makes his plan like break down. Like what is that one like little piece of the machine that you can take out and then it goes to shambles? And obviously that thing is that twist with Kevin's dad being on the train. So I thought they used that really well, and it was like each of them had their unique type of weakness, because even though Kevin, those hypnosis lights could take him out, that wasn't really what stopped him in the end, right? It was because of Casey kind of sedating him, and then he got shot when he was in that vulnerable state. So each of them had like a very unique and different weakness that ended up taking them out, and I thought that was really well done, because it was cool that they all had like multiple, other than David, I guess, they all had like multiple things that I guess even for David, you could say his family was another point of weakness for him, but it was interesting that they all had like a dynamic there. So it made it like, even though the ending, I mean, I guess maybe I wouldn't have predicted that all of them were just gonna die in the end. Like maybe I thought some of them, one or two, or maybe even all 3 of them would have lived in some way. I thought the fact that they all had different weaknesses made for like a really interesting, like how that was gonna play out and how it was all gonna end. Because I still, even in like those last moments, wasn't thinking that all of them were going to die. I kind of felt like the Beast was going to get taken out, but I really didn't expect that guard to take David and like just drown him out. And I mean, Glass, I guess I also was kind of expecting that he would die at some point, just because of how easy it is. Yeah, you can like a strong gust of wind can take him out. So.
I really thought, which is fine because they wanted to do Glass's more dramatic, but I really thought they are going to have the Beast kill him in the way that he kills people when he wraps his arm around him. And I just thought for Elijah that would be...
That would have been a lot of crunching noises.
I thought that's how I was going to go, but then you couldn't have that scene with him and the therapist. What was I going to say? I believe all of them are going to die except for David. I think that's one of the things I like, that it being kind of like a standalone superhero thing, and that's why compared to Logan, that's why Logan's so special for me, because in the movies or most comic books, you don't get the ending to the hero. It's just they're always going to live, right? And that's why like we talk about Endgame, maybe someone will die, but even then, you look at Infinity War, very impactful at that point, but all those characters are going to come back. It's always like, how are they going to come back, right?
Drax, yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe, Drax too. But like with this, it's like, that's what I think we were talking about earlier with all this reveal. There's so much intake that usually the hero doesn't die. This is the superhero just flat out getting killed, and that's the end of the story. Like, as far as we know, I don't think they're going to bring him back or anything like that. So if this is it, like, he's just dead. And that's what I really like about superhero stuff that's not comic books or not that I'm not saying I take this over the MCU and get rid of it all, but I like having that mix of what not, because now, you can tell that, he has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Yeah. And I really enjoy that.
Really impactful.
Yeah.
Mr. Glass, hey, that's the last one.
Yeah, love Samuel Jackson. We talked about the non-sports. I like that he gets to do something other than just kind of be like the badass guy. Definitely. Even when we saw him in Con a couple of years ago, he's just, he wants to fight King Kong, classic Sam Jackson. And that's the actor you get. Like, what human could feasibly actually take on King Kong? You get Sam Jackson, because he just has such a big personality. But it's like, he's not subdued as Bruce Willis, but like he plays that way. I love all his interactions a lot with the Beast. Even that stuff when the Beast has him in the wheelchair and just like, you need to roll forward when the Beast comes back. And just, I love it. This is like classic good combo back and forth. I wish that we maybe got a same thing as scene with Dunn, but I wish we also got a scene with him and his mother one more time before he got like the death blow, just because in Unbreakable they have a very close relationship and they hold each other to high esteem. And I always find that relationship really interesting. She even says in this movie, she's like, I know he does bad things, but he's my son, you know, and that's the thing. She supports him, even though I don't think she, like, at
He's
the
had
end.
a traumatic life.
Yeah, and at the end, like, I don't feel like she, like, when she's helping them reveal stuff, I don't think she wants a bunch of people to die. I think she just, like, loved her son, but she also wants to do good as much as the line will agree with her. So I love that relationship, and yeah, he does a great job. His whole, like, breaking out and his whole, like, jigsaw stuff and, like, being the guy 10 steps ahead, it's fantastic. It's even better than Unbreakable. Because Unbreakable, you don't get to see it. Unbreakable, it's all revealed at the end, like, oh, he did all this. For this, you get to see, I guess, see a little bit of Unbreakable, but this you get to see, I wonder who that is. You get to see every single thing he did. Yeah, I really enjoyed him. He did a great performance, and I liked everything that did the character. He had really no qualms about it, and I like that he kind of gets the last laugh. You know, he's kind of in the way, like a great villain. He's like he's doing bad stuff, but for good reasons. The train stuff, not so much, but him revealing all of them to the world.
Yeah, that was a different time.
Yeah, it was a different time, but now to the world, you know, he's kind of exposing the government, right? So it's like that's where I think it became very political, where he did this bad stuff, but then people would go, oh, was he that bad because he showed us this and this? So yeah, he's a great character and a great performance, and I would love to see more of this from Sam Jackson. Not that he's a bad actor, but I like when he gets to do something different. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. First of all, I just want to touch on his like villain costume is fantastic.
So good.
I love that so much. That's what I'm doing for next Halloween for sure. The purple suit, big swag, and he's got the MG
Mr. Glass.
in pure gold. Like I love the mad scientist kind of hair.
Make sure you stay white though. Don't put any like blackface on or anything like that.
Why not?
I don't think it'll go over well.
Didn't Downey Jr. do that in like Tropic Thunder?
Long time ago.
Yeah, the world's changed.
Yeah, I don't think you could do Tropic
Damn
Thunder 2 anymore.
Yeah, no.
But you can do this costume still. Just
I'll do most of the costume. But yeah, like I was saying in the non-spoilers, that the beginning or the first, like, I guess probably half of the movie, he doesn't even really have any lines at all. He's just kind of doing like these nervous twitches. He's kind of on this crooked angle. I really liked in that poster scene how when it cuts to, like, from his perspective of that, how like the camera is on tilt, him looking at the therapist. But it all leads, and then like that part where he's just out in the hallway and there's like those two guards there, and he's they're like looking at the medicine, like, oh, nothing's gone, and he's just kind of like sitting there. All that part was really fun because you don't really know exactly like what he's up to. And then like when they do reveal like what he was doing, like why he was out in the hall at that point is because he was swapping out the medicine. And then what's so funny?
I love when they're like, we caught you on camera, and then when they go back to like the footage they saw, he's just like in his chair, like trying to get caught, and he's like, oh, like he just made it so obvious, like, because it was after they had all died.
Right.
She's talking about it, and he's just like, whoa, and he's just like playing around in his chair, like I forgot about that. So good.
But yeah, how it builds up right into that scene where he goes into Kevin's room and he's kind of telling him the plan and whatnot. I really like that whole development of Glass from just like this very silent character who is clearly just behind it on so many regards, and how he saw it coming that they were gonna potentially move up the date for his surgery to essentially give him a lobotomy, and so he went and tampered with that beforehand. All of that was really good. All those reveals felt like really warranted, and it made you like believe in how smart this guy is, and even though because you kind of think like, okay, he's been in this asylum for 20 years, so it would make sense if he like essentially was turned to mush and he was like kind of like brain dead at this point, but it was the longest of cons. He was looking 100 steps ahead,
which I think that could be an issue. I don't know if because he doesn't know about the beast until this movie, which I think was maybe a mistake. It takes place 3 weeks later after Split, which I think is a mistake because Casey's already in a home, and she looks like she's not really traumatized at all, like she's worked through. And I believe that can happen, but I think 3 weeks was like a little.
No, I mean there's that scene in the school with like the principal talking to her, and they mentioned.
But I feel like she felt like the way she dresses in this compared to Split. I feel like it's supposed to show like she's like much better than she was in Split, like just as a person before it all went down. I just thought 3 weeks was like a little close, and for her to already be situated in his family and very close with them.
Yeah, from the perspective that like already with David and Glass, like it's already been so long for them that it's like kind of irrelevant if you make it another year or two past Split, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you might as well do it for story purposes because it is 3 weeks. Like, is that
Yeah, they said it multiple times.
Okay.
2 weeks. Yeah, and what I was trying to get to those, I don't know exactly what Glass's plan would have been if he never knew about the Beast, because I would like to know what he was maybe waiting around for, because 20 years is a long con, but I don't know if that would go in my cons. But it's just, I don't know why he didn't try to get out sooner. It would have been.
He did.
When did he try to get out?
There's one point where the mom is in talking and she's like, I used to visit him every week, but then he kept trying to get out, so they started sedating him too heavily, so I stopped visiting because it hurt, or like it was upsetting.
Like, I didn't take it as he's been like, he hasn't said a word since Unbreakable. Like, I didn't take it that way, right? I don't know when he kind of went into this like catatonic state, or at least the fake catatonic state. Like, maybe it was when he learned about the Beast, or when he learned that the Beast went there, but I took it as it had been at least probably a few years where he wasn't talking anymore.
No, and if I watch it back and they did say he tried to escape multiple times, that'll make it a bit better for me. For me, it was just a little unbelievable. Like, let's say if he did try to escape, and
they
then
said he learned the blueprints from an electrician and shut down the entire...
Okay, then that's good. Because, that was the problem that wasn't jiving me. Like, why would he wait for... like the coincidence of just this particular moment, like, oh, the Beast just happened, because he didn't know about it's pretty fresh, right? No one knew about the Beast, so that's why I'm excited to rewatch it. But that helps me with it then if he did try and fail.
That's why he's supposed to be all sedated and wonky, is because they started drugging him because he kept trying to get out.
Yeah, and I guess they had kept him just by himself. Like, obviously you mentioned how there's so many other people in that asylum, but none of them were in this particular wing. Clearly he was just by himself this entire time. So yeah, maybe he was just waiting for anybody to show up so that he could, twist their mind and use them to get out.
Yeah, well, he needed the help, because that's part of what he was saying with McAvoy, that he needed him to get out, right? So... yeah,
or maybe it was just like all he wanted was for the world to know, and so that was like, maybe there was other people at some point that had dropped through this wing, and maybe he could have tried to use them to get out, but really that wouldn't have achieved his ultimate goal. He needed these guys to display their abilities, because his wasn't something that you could show to the world because it was internal.
Yeah.
I do want to show too, though, the scene when he is like flickering with the lights to get McAvoy out, and the one like overly pretentious dude is like, do you even know what this word means? And Mr. Glass is just like, yeah, it's this. And the guy just kind of stops. He's like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that part.
Yeah, when he was like the Japanese film critic or whatever, or no, the painting critic.
Yeah,
and then he's like, I appreciate paintings myself.
Yeah.
And I like that scene. That's one thing I forgot to bring up. I'm not sure if that was some of your comedic guys or whatnot, but the very first scene we have with Daryl and we have with the Beast, I hated that. He was like, get back to your bed, stop talking, and he kept doing the flashes and everything. He didn't need to, because that for me is like, we're going to see his personality many times. That's where for me, when it's like little nitpicky stuff, but that scenes where not even necessarily Sarah Paulson things, I think they could have tightened it up a little bit, but I found like a lot of little stuff like that in the asylum happened, where like, you don't need this minute to 2 minutes of him like just tormenting him, because they didn't go for the whole like he's a bad like mental institution guy, right? He was just like scared, but it's just like, you can clearly just leave. So that scene bugged me, because I feel like there's little stuff that I wish I could communicate better. But I just remember a few times in that chunk being like, okay, even though I didn't find that long of a movie, like you could cut that there, because like I get the point, I get what you're doing. Especially, it's not the first time we've seen James McAvoy. We know he has different personalities, so I didn't like that scene. There was a few others. I
agree. Like I didn't like that. The bearded guard guy, just because he was
Daryl. His name, come on.
His name is Daryl. He was
he likes to talk.
He does like to
It takes
talk.
about 7 minutes.
And he's like vegan or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
what was his story.
and that
he's talking about
guy
protein packs.
drinks a lot of water.
And he's always late to work. That character, like that. There was the other guard as well that I don't know.
We're a fan of.
Well, I wasn't a fan of either of them. Like they didn't need to try and have like character moments for them, really. Like I think any sort of character development, or like I guess they want that scene where, as you mentioned, where they're flashing lights a bunch and you're seeing some different personalities. You can do all of that with the therapist, and you would do well to do that, because it's developing a character that you're already putting a lot of time investment into. So like, why not just give those scenes to her?
Even the stuff with the needle, we didn't need that of like, oh, it's right by the light. Like I feel like they were trying to do that to add some horror, but it's like, it didn't really materialize into anything.
Yeah,
which,
and it just felt weird. Like, why is this guard letting like, I guess Jade in that case, like egg him on. Like, yeah, like why? As you mentioned before, like why is he even going in that room? It doesn't make sense. But yeah, for him to just like do whatever that character is saying is really weird. Why are you letting that character boss you around? He just felt like some like unpaid intern or something that was kind of just hanging out, where it's like, you guys should probably have some pretty serious security on these guys, because you know what they're capable of. So.
One of them's a full-on serial killer. Even if he has no powers, he's a killer.
He will like eat you if he gets on the ground.
He eats his victims. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if all they've been dealing with though is Mr. Glass, I mean.
Well, then wrong institution. They should have.
Yeah, you gotta be okay. I mean, yeah, if you have Glass, it makes sense. You have two guards.
You can walk in that room.
I think that's I don't think it's a good idea, but I'll allow it.
And you can easily.
But as soon as you get two more inmates in there, you gotta at least, and they're like actually physical things that could take you out.
You can palm strike Glass.
Yeah.
You can palm strike Glass, and he's done. Like, he's not coming at you at all. Like, like my grandma could watch Glass, really. But yeah, with those two, that's where for me it's like suspension of disbelief. Sometimes to be like, okay, a little cheesy there, and yeah, those characters, like you said, I think they could have been in there, but we didn't need to know. Like, still keep that scene of him talking to that guy, like, oh, proteins, I stopped eating this. That's fine, but yeah, they had so many moments. Just even the stuff like when he takes Elijah to like get the lobotomy, he's like, are you ready for this, Elijah? Like, here we go. But they never played him up to be like, I thought that's the route we were gonna go. That he was like the shitty guy who was always in these movies, like he mistreats them. So it's like, oh, so when he gets killed, we won't feel bad because like, oh, he's a bad guy. But they didn't even commit to that. They just did some weird middle ground where he's just kind of like. Annoying? Yeah, he's there and annoying, like, but he's not a bad person. Yeah. I don't know.
Like, it seems like almost like a weird excuse to say, oh, we don't need, like, named characters here. Like, these could be, like, your, nameless guards, and I would be, like, more confident with that. Obviously, there is a better way to do it. You can have it be, like, less on the nose, like, oh, this character's supposed to make you laugh, and that's what he's here for in this movie. You could have some other, like, interesting reasons, or like you said, like, yeah, there could be some dynamic there where some of them have, like, some plot point that's relevant, but instead it just felt like kind of wasted time where you could have had other stuff. Now, within that, there is, like, a couple good moments. I think it is, as you guys mentioned, the fact that the Beast and David's rooms were right across from each other. Weird idea. One of them has
security.
One of them has like a window. Very bad idea, but still.
Like he can't get to the window because of the lights.
Right. Yeah.
It's true. However,
he could still maybe see.
Yeah, if he was to stand on the bed, he could probably look through it. But I thought that scene was kind of cool. How like the doors were open at the same time and they could see each other. As much as like music. As much as it was a weird like. Architecturally, what's going on here? Why are they looking at each other? It was still kind of a cool scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, those two characters were pretty unnecessary.
I did like, why are these pictures crooked? And I had to find the right piece. And I like that kill. It was like a cool Mr. Glass, like very smooth.
Yeah, it's like I want this guy to die. So
yeah. The other problem I had with that is. I don't believe for a second. So all those main characters show up to Sarah Paulson at the mental institution, like in her office, and they're talking. Like they can't be superheroes, blah, and then she gets this alert. I don't buy it for a second. These people are getting killed. That I know there's only one or two guards there, but the fact it felt like it took an eternity for her to find out that these people are dead. Like they're just walking, and even then, like okay, they get McAvoy to dress up in like a nursing to get through the front door. I don't buy that for a fucking second. He's massive. You've probably never seen this guy. So it's just like, you're going to have to put someone on to get us out. No, you're going to have to kill everyone because this makes no sense how he just walks it up.
I mean, the nurses,
that was very loose.
Those two nurses were like onto them though, right?
No, those were the ones in the basement when they saw him. I mean, like, how did they get to the basement? Like, how did they get the elevator?
Oh, you mean, because that one guy, like, who had the gate, right?
Yeah, he's like,
another
stoner
employee.
Yeah, so that's why, like, it's funny the stuff that M. Night, like, really stresses on and dives deep on in development and, like, make sure every little detail's covered, and then there's other stuff he's just like, fuck it, like, just let it go. It's very, talking about You again, it's very similar to that, where it's like, some stuff is very specific, and other stuff's like, nah, Joe can just do this and be fine. So that's so.
I love it.
Anything more on Glass, his mother, anything like that?
I want to throw out, in Split, you see the Beast once.
Yeah.
It's the end scene. I almost felt like it was just too much by the end of it. The way he looks and acts and talks, by the end of it, I was just kind of bored of it.
Mm.
And I get why they did it. That's supposed to be how he's getting out, and Glass tells him all these things about how the Beast is gonna be the savior. It needs to be shown to the world.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of it, I just felt it was too
Yeah,
much.
so I haven't rewatched Split super recently. In that movie, does he just have the ability to, obviously he only does it at the end, but does he have the ability to just like turn it on? Or is it more like triggered by certain events that like bring him to that?
So what happens the whole movie, I don't know if this is how it's supposed to be, but like in Split, it's kind of made it sound like that time when he turns into the beast is like the first time.
Yeah.
And what happens is he leaves where he has the girls and he goes to the train, and that's where it was like, oh, Unbreakable, when they found the Split. And then he turns the same way he went down to that homeless place. So it seems like he always goes somewhere for the most part before he goes to the institution to like turn into him. So it was usually like a big process, it felt like, but in this, like, I guess the lights.
Yeah, it does. So from that perspective, I totally agree. Like within this 3 weeks time for him to completely harness that power and be able to just do it on command is.
Well, I don't know. It's kind of like the
much.
first time the Hulk gets angry. The Hulk can get angry pretty easily, right? That's the way I took it. As like Bruce Banner can't really control the Hulk once the Hulk's around. That's how I took it. Like, well, now the Beast is here, he could really take over because he's the one in charge. I do. I
guess
agree
that's where maybe the difference is between this and a regular superhero like MCU kind of movie, because this is supposed to be, maybe it's not supposed to be, but it's always been played up as more like realistic and like believable, whereas the Hulk is obviously gigantic and green, so it's like obviously that is just more out there and over the top just in the first place.
But I agree with you specifically at the ending, because when he got Glass out, he turns on the Beast, he kills that guy, crunches him, and then he turns it to Patricia, and then when they get down the basement, he turns back to the Beast, and then when they get back out there, he's Dennis, and he kidnaps those girls, and then the cops come, and then he's the Beast again. I don't think those girls need to be captured at all. I think they just, I guess they did that because they wanted to show that the Overseer, he's like the hero of the story, right? Like he saved these people, so I kind of get that, but the whole like Dennis taking these girls, and like I said, that was some of my problem with Dennis being, I don't want to do this. It's like it was such a tacked on of like, I don't have time for this other personality having a moral complex. Like at the fucking 9th inning, he's killed all these girls, and now he's like, I didn't want to do this the whole time. So I do agree with you that end part. I felt the rest of it was fine, but the ending, he was like boom, boom. But it was like, just stay the Beast the whole time. Just have him ripping through the hospital, like and you don't even have to show it. If you don't have the budget, just show him come outside, have a little blood on him. Like we can insinuate, okay. Because I would have preferred him just tearing through the security instead of dressing up as a nurse to escape. Because I don't buy that at all. He's a massive guy in this like little nurse outfit, and they're like supposed to believe, oh yeah, he's taking glass out. I would have just preferred, he tore out all the security and we couldn't stop. It's like, okay, that makes sense.
That feels like something that Glass would actually want to happen, right? Because his plan of going to the basement is that all this stuff is going to get caught on camera. So he'd want like just a super fucking scary beast-like thing crawling around the walls and like attacking everybody. That's what he wants. He doesn't care how many people die.
That was my one favorite thing about like the therapist. She lists off all these good reasons. That's why I didn't buy it. When she lists off like, oh, and you have lots of like 9 hours of rock climbing videos. Like what he does is not rock climbing. Like anytime he climbs, he leaves like divots in the wall. That's where it's like, okay, I don't believe that they could not have the powers, because it's just like that's not climbing. That's something else.
For me where it's like, okay, I haven't seen Split in a bit. Like maybe he was just climbing the walls. Like I don't know, because at the beginning of this movie, in the scene with the cheerleaders, he's like climbing along the vents, so you don't see him like actually breaking.
And you're like, okay, he could,
Yeah, like I could maybe do that with enough training.
Yeah.
Maybe.
One day you can be the Beast. Though.
I'll never be as jacked as McAvoy.
Oh yeah, I wish. Congrats to McAvoy, and he's much bigger than he was in Split. And Split was big, but he's putting on that weight,
His calves in that nurse's uniform were freaking thick.
Yeah. And we've talked about.
I mean, when he was in that Jade form, I was like, woo.
Oh
man.
And we talked about.
Picked up that needle.
Yeah.
I would have picked up the needle.
We talked about before we reviewed the trailer of Amanda. I love his like Beast run in the yard when like he goes after it. Just it's so majestic. It's so good,
Majestic.
Oh, it's great. Anything else we want to add? Anything else?
I feel like this is just random. I feel like McAvoy, because I saw Wanted back in the day. I was like, this movie's fucking sick, and that was the first thing I ever seen McAvoy. I feel like he was a pretty like regular sized dude in that, right? Like
he's a small. He was. Well, even look at like his stuff in X-Men. He's not a big guy. He has Xavier in a chair. That's what he's doing now in the chair. He's like, you guys take your sets. I'm doing this right now. So. No, but he doesn't. I don't think he really keeps it. I feel like he just kind of beefed up for this role, and then
there'll be an X-Men like fucking rolling into the battlefield.
Wow, Xavier got thick.
He just like handstands the whole way.
Hey, there's a beast in that movie too. Think about that.
Oh god, I can't wait.
Yeah, last one. Get ready for that
crossover.
Yeah.
I will throw out something that I wanted to happen, and I might be the only one that thought it would have been good. But when breaks down that door and he's like looking in the camera. I was really hoping he was gonna finger it like McAvoy did.
No, that's not done. He's a nice guy. He's not gonna.
I know,
poor
but I
employees.
just-
He broke their door.
I just feel like it would have been
Okay.
funny just to see.
That's a little over the top.
I don't know. I thought it would have been kind of a good.
I feel like that would have been cheesy, and I
I
probably
know.
wouldn't have liked
Yeah.
that.
But
But I can, but I,
You
so I
can
see what you,
understand.
I like your setup that you had for it. I think I'd be the only one who liked it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. We can't.
Well, you know, he sits there and stares at it, and then just walks away, and I'm like, why you stand there staring at it? Like,
He's very confused in that scene, you know. And I didn't like that his arm.
Well,
was
he
hurt.
did because he's like, oh man, I actually am a superhero.
Yeah.
maybe
yeah.
that's just
Well,
showing
what do
that
you-
he's getting old.
I think that's how I took it. Yeah, but I was like, don't do that right now.
Mm.
That's fine. That's fine.
Very old.
Anything else? Anything else? Shout out.
My notes are depleted.
Mine too.
Yeah, I'm sure there is probably something that I'll think of later.
We'll talk about
I
next
don't
year.
wanna rewatch
Next year,
that.
Golden Geeks. You know, I'm sure it'll be in the
I
discussion.
will
I think
shut
it'll
up.
be there, yeah.
I did look. It was 2016 for Split.
So it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Really?
Well, you don't,
I'm gonna have to read.
I am 100% certain it's 2017.
well, according to the Google, I am the hacker
I think I'm
man.
100%, okay?
I
That's how
am-
confident I am.
Yeah, it was 2016.
Yeah,
Bam.
but like, that's...
January 2016.
January 2016.
Yeah,
I
that's
knew it
right.
was in January, that's why I thought it was...
Wow,
sure
3
2016.
years. Especially this movie's a little vegetable. There
That
you go.
doesn't seem correct. How long have we been doing this podcast for?
2015 is when we
Yeah.
started. 2015 of August or July.
Yeah, over 3 years now.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. I thought we were just, breaking the 1 year mark or something. I'm just kidding.
It's been a long 1 year.
No, I guess it made. Did that make? No, I guess so.
Because you did a review for that, and that was like after we had been doing it for some
that
time. Because we
can't
didn't.
make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It's gotta be 2017, man. Maybe that was the original date, or like IMDb is wrong because.
No, Wikipedia has it too. This makes no sense. No, there's a thing that says release date 2017 when you Google it as well. So what's going on? So Wikipedia.
It's definitely 2017.
It's
You know what you gotta do?
2017. No, and then Rotten Tomatoes says it's 2017. The reason why I know this is because
Go
it came
search GeekVerse
No.
split review, and it will pop
out.
up.
True, yeah.
Go on YouTube, search GeekVerse split review.
but-
You guys can do it too, the viewers. You want.
Yeah, see how wrong I was. But the reason I know that is because he got nominated with oh, there's a nice
The,
picture of me
the
and
mermaid
Kyle.
sex
There
thing.
it is. Up.
Where?
No, that's not it.
No. There's tons. Oh wait, no, I gotta put in Geek First Podcast. I found that algorithm out. Let's see here. Come on.
So why does it say
There we go.
2016?
1 year ago. That doesn't
Wait,
make sense.
Works.
Click on it. It'll have an actual
It'll have a
date.
published date. Oh man, folks,
2017.
Yeah, it's definitely 2017.
Yeah,
The
it
other
has to be.
Yeah,
So what's
the-
the 2016 for then?
Maybe
I don't
it
know,
was
it's wrong.
announced. Maybe it was supposed to come out in 2016.
The reason I knew it was 2017 though is because for our Golden Geeks we nominated him and Adam Driver.
Yeah, and we
yeah,
didn't do like a Golden Geeks for the first. Did we?
No, the first year we didn't.
No,
No, because Force Awakens would have had that in the fucking bag. I'm very salty about that. But-
Fantastic Beasts.
No, that was
What?
that was the year after. That it lost. It lost.
Take that back.
Fantastic Beasts didn't even get a movie nomination. Nice try.
Right now.
But yeah.
I'll
so-
tell you what, Fantastic Beasts, it's definitely nominated in some categories this year. I'm not going to tell you which one.
Oh boy, but yeah, maybe we'll be talking about this next year because I'm excited to see. Because I could see, and I'll transition to my final rating. I could see some people not liking this. Like, I don't think he didn't like it, but it sounded like Briggs didn't enjoy it maybe the level we did last night.
Mhm.
Like for me, he was bringing up some stuff of like the meshing of Unbreakable and Unbreakable and Split and like kind of the tones, and that's what I liked about this because. Jessica will not agree, but me and Dylan, big Incredibles haters, and Incredibles 2 haters.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was...
Please, you have to put the two on the end of that.
I feel like that's a sequel that was like the exact same thing, and that's what I like about this, that yeah, it wasn't meshing the tones, and it did feel different than both Unbreakable and Split, but that's what I like. It's taking it and doing something different, because we have this trilogy that is so unique and so out there, and like, I can't wait one day to do like a whole marathon of this. Yeah, I love this movie. It has its flaws, but I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to watch this again. This is easily one of my favorite superhero movies. I don't know if I can say the best because, like I said, there's little things, little acting things, little choices. But for me, it's one of my favorites. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because I had some
Not bad.
my cons are, but I loved it. I couldn't believe how much I really enjoyed it. I think it also helped because I'd heard before, like, it was very mixed, and it was, of course, a review like, you're either going to love it or hate it. And funny enough, I'm not. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm kind of like
I feel like a 9 out of 10. It's definitely not in the middle.
No, the middle of the reveal. Like, I heard
Okay.
people say you're going to hate it or you'll be on board. I'm kind of like, I see why they did it. I don't know if I love it, but I kind of like it. So the movie, no, I loved. and I might like it the most out of the three. Unbreakable is 100% a better movie as far as just the way it's crafted, but I just love my crossovers, and I love it all coming together, and I liked, for Unbreakable, it is a dull kind of actionless movie, and I don't need action in my movies, but I like the action in this, even though it's shot very, very poorly at times, kind of on purpose. I like that it has a bit more pick-me-up moments, and I like most of the dialogue and the characters and them interacting with each other. So I'd say Breakable is the best, but as far as my favorite, maybe most watchable, this might be it. So I'm excited to see it again. So 9 out of 10, I recommend it, and I hope it sticks around. But you know what? If it's not on the Golden Geese next year, that 5 films, then we got a good year ahead of us, because I really enjoy this movie. So.
Sure. Yeah, you bring up a good point there in talking about, like, you know, people might be disliking this movie, or Briggs in particular wasn't a huge fan. And like, I can totally understand that, because we just
critics hate this movie. Not hate it, but Rocket Knight's 36 on Rotten Tomatoes. Oh yeah.
Really?
Briggs didn't like it?
Well, I think he was more. I don't know. You can maybe talk to him. I think he. It sounded more.
It sounded like he was probably more in the 5-6 kind of range.
Yeah, a smoldering 6, I'd say.
A fragile.
Yeah, a split 6.
A breakable 6.
Yeah. A glass.
And I can totally.
A tiptoe.
Okay. I can totally understand that, because I mean, the last 20-30 minutes of this cast, we were just talking about like all of our little problems with it. Yep. And there is a lot of little things in there that are annoying, or like could have been changed, or needed better solutions, or are like kind of just like little plot holes. And there's a few of those things strung throughout, but I think the strength of this movie for me are what just carry it so high above those things that I can look past those things. And I think it's also the fact that all of those problems I had are little things in and of themselves, at least from my perspective. So none of them are big enough to break it down, whereas, you know, you just mentioned Incredibles too. Like, there's so many things in that movie that are just big problems for me that it really just takes it down overall. It's not just a bunch of little nitpicks.
You know, some of these fuckers are going to try and get in the best movie in Golden Geeks. I can sense it.
I'm going for the opposite. I'm going to make the fucking case. I'm going in.
Tune in next week.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be super wild.
I am predicting this is going to be our most debatable one yet, because I feel like we all have.
And we have more categories, and it's probably going to be 7 hours long.
Yeah, 100%. You're not going to see us.
Are we starting early for that, hopefully?
We're going to try.
We're going to start at 6 a.m.
We're going to need it.
Yeah.
We're going to try.
But yeah, no, I really love this movie, and I'm excited to watch it again after seeing it, because I haven't seen Split in, honestly,
2 years.
I think I may have seen it a second time. I can't recall, but it has been at least since 2017 for sure. So I'm excited to watch that movie again, and then pick up on, like, as you mentioned, some of those little mentions of like the characters in the computer that like you didn't get to see in the first one, because I couldn't recall those. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to watch it again when it hits Netflix or Plex or whatever it may be. But yeah, definitely just a nice movie to have in the mix for this year already, because it's just I can tell already there's gonna be something different than, you know, a bunch of the other big movies that we're gonna get this year.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I'm really happy with this movie, and
unless Endgame just starts with Thanos in a mental institution, it's really crazy.
That would be wild. That would be pretty wild.
Oh,
I think that's all I had to say.
Jessica,
what do you got, Jessica?
Final word. Send us out of here.
So
you can have words if you want. It doesn't have to be a word.
One word. Describe us.
So
Yeah. Boom. That's our review. So
I looked up beforehand, like the ratings.
Oh, okay.
So the 37 on Rotten Tomatoes, 44 on Metacritic. And I think when I looked, it was lower on IMDb than it is now. Because right now...
Probably.
Wait, what was it on Metacritic?
44.
IMDb usually drops when a movie comes out. It rarely sustains.
No, I thought IMDb got higher.
The opposite.
Yeah.
I don't know its original scores. I know it's like Rocket Knight's 7.3. But I will say, as someone that I don't want to be hypocritical, that and the Rotten Tomato audience score rating are the most fraudulent thing ever, because I could not see a movie and still go vote. That's it's tough. The only thing that matters is the cinema score.
They're about as flawed as the Golden Geese.
Yeah, the cinema score will come out this week, and the cinema score is when they actually take test screen audience from people that see in the movie. So other scores, it's tough to know. It's tough to know, because I can...
You know the one way to fix that? You get GeekVerse on Rotten Tomatoes by rating us on iTunes.
Oh boy, yeah, we'll bump up this split to 37%, you know?
Yeah. We'll do our best.
So, anyway, I went into this definitely kind of open-minded, because if it didn't really have all that great of ratings, I wasn't expecting too much, especially because Shyamalan had, you know, he's put out some disappointing movies in the last little bit. That being said, I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed the beginning of it. As I said, there was some times where, you know, there was flaws that kind of take you out of it, and at the end, you know, the Beast was just kind of getting overdone, and I didn't really like the whole secret organization without any context or emotional connection to it. It just felt thrown in. But then it does end on a really kind of cool note to see, you know, all of this film has actually been sent out into the world, and you know, there is that whole mastermind plan that Glass had behind it. I don't necessarily agree that you can put a video on the internet and sit in central Times Square or whatever for 2 hours and the whole world has now seen it. A whole different story, though.
I would believe that. If there was like superheroes, like the very first superhero in our world, I think, especially now on Twitter, the way things like trend so quickly now, like I think we would, any no in the GeekVerse chat would be popping off. Like, man, there's a real superhero. Can we get on the podcast?
Yeah,
like, I think it'd go pretty quick.
It would be
like
a heated
fake
conversation, and then Kyle would pop in like 2 days later. Hey, did you guys see this?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Or, you know, Taylor would tag Travis on Facebook and then...
I'd probably say it's fake.
Yeah,
first,
exactly,
Like I
that's
usually
what I
do.
You guys would be in a big debate.
Yeah,
And
no,
then-
I don't like escape.
And then me or Kirkland or someone see it scrolling and be like, why weren't we tagged in this? And
I would take it. That's going in. We have like a Facebook page, the crew group. That's going in the crew group. If it was like a real fucking superhero walking around, nah, because we gotta get that first.
and you gotta be like Dylan and post it in the crew group, and then when everyone ignores it, you gotta go and
Tag.
tag them in the
I know.
comments.
We got different levels.
I had a strategy that time because I posted that at like 12
told me
o'clock
about
at night,
this.
so I was like, I'm gonna tag all of them in the morning.
Yeah.
So that I don't bug them right now,
The
but
last-
they need to see this.
The last time on my desktop, I went to the crew group. It said, create a group chat with all your friends in here. It was like, we're so way past that. But I have thought about creating another GeekVerse group chat, but that is just specifically for, hey, this is the time, date, and then no
See,
spam.
is
And I'm sure I
Yeah.
could turn that, but I would tell Taylor, no memes, no nothing.
No
Just-
gifts. I don't want to see a single gift. In
Yeah, if you get a gift, you get booted. Like that.
See, I feel like that's what the crew group chat or the page was supposed to be for.
Well, no, it is. It's just we got so much stuff popping off. If you go down, it's all like
Tune
stuff.
in next week for a review of our own group chat.
More confusing
The
than
Geek First goes meta.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like my conversation with Travis just on our own is like, hey, what time and whose house?
Yeah.
There's not actually like
All
a
my
conversation.
soul-
I went into we have our own
The
specific
Survivor
group
one,
chat,
that's
and
the-
yeah, our last post was something to do with Survivor from like a long time
Yeah,
ago.
it was like 2 seasons ago.
yeah, it was a long time ago.
Anyway, if you like the first two, definitely check this out, or watch the first two and then go see it.
Mhm.
It's definitely a better ending than I was expecting for the first two. I think they did do a good job of blending the characters together. I don't agree with the whole, Briggs getting upset by that, because I don't think you could do this movie without blending the two kind of calm styles of David with Kevin's like craziness. I think you need to blend those in order to actually make this work.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's worth a watch. I will definitely probably watch this again when it's out on Netflix or whatever. Do like a little back to back, watch them all one after another,
Yeah, definitely.
instead of because I did Split and then Unbreakable. Now it's been 2 years, so it was definitely a little wonky and out of order. So
David's getting taken out.
anyway, I think that's
That's
it cut the check.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you
That's
enjoyed
what
this
Marvel
review,
wrote.
if you enjoyed this review, thank you very much. If you want to hear more of our stuff, like I said, Golden Geeks come up. That's gonna be tons of fun. Lots of debates going on. But if you like all reviews, it's been a good year. Escape Room,
Mhm.
Glass. These are.
Into the breach.
Escape Room, yeah.
I like. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely as of
actually.
right now my top 5 movies.
Well,
Easy. I've
Easily.
seen about
Top
3.
2 for me.
Yeah, Golden Geeks for sure until everything else. But yeah, check that out. Just go subscribe, whether that's YouTube, whether that's all our podcast services. If you want to know where that is, just head to the description down below. It has every single link you need. If you really like what we do, go to Patreon. We got exclusive shows up there.
Mhm.
Retros, Lord of the Rings has just started. Star Wars Clone Wars is in the middle of it. We just dropped an After 9 talking about man crushes and is Banjo-Kazooie a legend gaming.
And that's only on Patreon.
Only on Patreon, $1 you get half the content, $5 you get every single piece of content there, and it's 100% worth it. Thank you very much. We will see
you gotta what about Star Wars and Facebook. You gotta go vote in our.
I was too late because if they're at the end, but if not, if you're at the end, yeah, you gotta go to the poll. We'll have to resume at the beginning. Yeah, it's popping off. Lots of debates. Still getting called out by fans, you know.
Yeah, that was fun. But did you see it? But then I liked my comment with the GeekVerse page.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's like no, I actually loved it. I loved it so that it makes my comment look more, because I don't know if a lot of those fans don't know who I am, right?
Same, yeah.
They're new on our page, right? So they see me, they see this random guy like shit talking who these characters are.
Wow.
Then they see that GeekVerse podcast loves his comment. Boom, this guy has insane credibility. And then it got boosted to the top post on that.
It did.
So now I just look like a mastermind over here just blasting it out.
Hey, you're supposed to be unbiased.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I have no idea who these fuckers are. But then I looked and it's like 130 to like 3 people, and I'm like, oh, well, there's no point in me even voting.
Plo
because
Koon, maybe he's the fucking
I
man.
didn't vote for these
Jedi
fucking
legend.
guys.
the closest one though, the
Chewie and Mace.
Yeah, that was a good, but it was actually exciting because there was a possibility. It wasn't
Yeah.
this is an obvious
These
winner.
first round picks have been pretty savage.
Yeah. Take out with Taylor Field. The first time I linked him, some fan had a question, I linked him, he's like, you know what, he messaged me like, I think you should link the GeekVerse page, not us separately. It's like, they don't know who made the polls, it just looks like GeekVerse. I'm like, yeah, alright, and then I linked them again later. Just like, no, people are knowing you made these polls. We produced them, but like, you did these brackets, not us.
Take responsibility. You did really well.
Yeah.
We're happy for what you've done.
He never did make those 2 extra evil.
He did, they're coming tomorrow.
He did.
Or no, they're probably up tonight, even.
Okay, last time I was looking, I didn't see them, so.
There you go. Go vote. Until next time, it'll not be boring.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Not very good.